The Untouchable True School Sports Empire proudly presents something the boxing games are missing. Hey, what's going on? It's your boy BT, and I came here to talk some boxing with the thousands of True School Sports subscribers. Guys, we are live once again. It's everyone's favorite boxing program, True School After Dark. And guys, I gotta tell you this. There's so many things happening in boxing. I had so many videos I was planning on doing, but I said, you know what? I'm just going to go live and talk about everything I was going to do a video about so that you guys can get my live reaction to it. And then I'll just go back and I'll just clip it and I'll just release it later on. So that's what we're going to do. And I'm going to tell you guys this. If you got any snacks, if you got any beverages of choice, if you got, if you smoke weed, I don't smoke weed, but if you do smoke weed, I would encourage you to get some snacks. I would encourage you to roll up. I would encourage you to get real comfortable because we're going to be here. This is not going to be a 2-hour live. This is probably going to be a 3-hour live. Honestly, I think I'm probably going to be here for 3 hours because I got about 9 or 10 talking points, and it's going to take me a while to get through them. And I'm going to be answering all your comments and all that good stuff and all that blase. But before I get into my talking points, before I even get to the comments, let's do some housekeeping, okay? So first and foremost here on True School After Dark, all right? I haven't been advertising this recently, but I'm gonna get back to advertising this because it's a fun way to connect with me off of YouTube. For those of you out there who want to get a hold of me outside of Instagram, outside of YouTube, text me there at 702-758-5496. That is my Google Voice number. I use it for business purposes, but I also use it to connect with and interact with the viewers of True School Sports. So I get like really interesting messages there, and people talk about boxing with me, and it's real cool. Like I've got about like 20 or 30 people that have already like hit me up on there. So definitely go ahead and text me at that number if you want to talk some boxing. I check it regularly, and if I don't check it, I get the alerts in my email. So it is a great way to connect with me and get a hold of me outside of YouTube because I get a lot of comments. I can't always read all of them. I get a lot of DMs on Instagram. It gets overwhelming at times, but that's a great, like right there, that's a great way to get a hold of me. So you got that right there. And then second housekeeping thing before I get to the comments, we got my if any of you guys want to support True School Sports, right? Because everybody thinks I'm a rich man. I'm not. I just put everything I have into this. I am accepting donations. So look, if you want to donate to the Cash App, it's right there at money sign just a kid from Dania. If you want to donate to the PayPal, it's there at True School Sports 2012@gmail.com. It's a better way to donate because YouTube does take a certain percentage off of anything you guys super chat, but you can super chat as well. And yeah, that'll help because that's what helps me go to these fights like Subra Matias and Dalton Smith and give you guys this great coverage. That's what helps me get to Japan. And actually, it's what's going to help me get to Puerto Rico because I got the email today. So you guys can mark your calendars down. I will be in Puerto Rico come January 31st for Xander Zayas versus Abbas Bro. I got the email a couple of hours ago from the fine folks at Top Rank. It'll be my first time going to Puerto Rico, so I'm really excited about that. And I got some things planned outside of just Xander and Abbas Bro that I will be covering. So yeah, I'll leave it at that, and I'll leave that right there in the header for you guys. But got a long show today because you got Brian Noman Jr. Removing his dad as head trainer. You got Oscar De La Hoya. Trying to use Al Haymon as a negotiating tactic with the zone and the whole Boots Ennis Virgil Ortiz saga. You got Hitchens supposedly fight Oscar Duarte. You got Stacy McKinley. I mean, there's just so like literally, guys. There's like so many things to talk about. So I'm gonna get to it one by one. I might be here till like 1 or 2 in the morning Eastern Standard Time. So if you like these lives, this is gonna be a good one. But anyway, shout out to everybody here. Let me go ahead and take the time to acknowledge the fine folks that have already commented before I get into my talking points. We got Joel in the building. Good to see Joel. He says we're not ducking no smoke. We're here early. Good to see you, Joel. We got Joshua in the building. What's up? TSM in the building. What's up? We got Reverse Lee. What's up? Yes, sir. Reverse Lee's in the house. We got TSM Arda in the building. He says, I'll start here. Did you see Jitazaki join the tournament? And if so, are you familiar with the people in it? People keep saying he's in the tournament. I haven't looked into it. I just know he's fighting in February, so I can't even tell you who's in the tournament because I haven't looked into it yet, but I'll look into it. And when I do, I'll have a better answer for you. Sergio Mendoza versus Simsiri on April 19th for the I didn't know that, but that's not surprising because he was the mandatory. So good to see Sergio Mendoza doing his thing. We got my main man, Philippians 4:13. He says, "Sub BT, long time." So what Brian did, was it personal or business? It's definitely business. You can fire your dad as far as a trainer or relegate him to an assistant trainer or remove him off the team, but you can't remove your dad from your life. It's your dad, right? So senior is still going to be around. He's just not going to be leading the ship. You understand? So that's what I'll say. Matthias and Norman are guys that need new trainers. Yeah, I would say so. Let me see. We got top brain distant and good for a change. What do you mean by that? What do you mean? It's always a good night when the goats are alive. And shout out to Sebastian Santana. 3-0 now, 3-0, moving up the professional ranks. I've seen it from the beginning. I've seen it from before the first amateur fight, from them days at Flacco's community gym, and now you're a grown man, making me feel old. Now you're in the pro ranks doing your thing. So yeah. Reverse Lee, good to see you. He says that New York City train got you looking different. I don't know if it's the training. I think I'm just wearing a nicer shirt. I bought this shirt from New York, but I didn't actually wear it that week, so I'm wearing it for this live tonight. And then we got one of the main heavy hitters in the boxing media game, YSN Sports Media. Listen, man, I know you love Brian Norman Jr. More than me, because I heard, I don't know if it's true, but Brian Norman Sr. was saying that you apparently you wanted to fight him. You wanted to knuckle up with him. So I don't know. Sounds like you got something to take care of, champ. But good to see you, Jamil. So look, we got everybody acknowledged. We've done our housekeeping. All right, we're here. We feel good, look good, all that good stuff. Let's get right into it, because I know you guys don't want to sit here and hear me talk about random stuff. You want to hear about, like what do you think about this whole Brian Norman Jr. situation, right? With him as the lead trainer. Now, that being, but I'm not entirely surprised, and I already spoke on this a while ago before he even made this decision, and I told you guys what I thought he should do. I like Brian Norman Sr. Like, I love the guy. Love Brian Norman Sr. I was just down there in Atlanta like about a month ago around this time, and great people there at Granite City Boxing. But I was of the mindset that I said, you know what, you keep Brian Norman Sr. around because that is your dad. He does have a level of experience in the fight game where he's walked that path. He's been in there with high level names. He's the one that's taught you damn near everything you know about this fight game, right? And he got you and made you a world champion. So I was never against just canning or just completely getting rid of Senior, but I do think they did need a new voice. And that's what Brian Norman Jr. has decided to do. Now I don't know what exactly he's planning on doing. I'm not sure if who's a lead candidate or anything like that. But there's plenty of great trainers out there. I'm sure you guys are gonna give your own suggestions in the comments, and I'll read those soon. But like I said, I think, and even Junior himself, because I sat there and I listened to the whole interview with Cigar Talk. Shout out to Najee. He did it. It was a good interview. I sat there, listened to the whole interview. He said it himself. He's like, this fight with Devin Haney, it was a fight about ego. I was very egotistical, and I didn't have that healthy respect for my opponent. I didn't think that he could really hurt me. And the first round, you go back and you watch the first round, I thought Norman won the first round. He did pretty good. He boxed behind his jab. Devin Haney wasn't really throwing any punches. And then Senior just said, go out there and just go get him. Just go. He ain't got shit with him. He ain't got no firepower. He can't crack at all. And that's what got Brian Norman hurt. And so that being said, that I think that knockdown really changed the complexion of the fight, and it put Norman Jr. in a position where he had to chase the fight. And he said it himself in the interview. He was like, look, in round 3, it just felt like Devin was in his rhythm. Devin had gotten in his bag. Devin was now executing his game plan on me, and I had a hard time really just getting to do what I wanted to do on a consistent basis. So I hate to see it, because one thing about me, being that I have such a great relationship with my dad, I'm always for, like, I'm telling you right now, I'm always pro fathers in boxing, because I know how grueling and I know how unforgiving this fight game is from the business standpoint, from the fighter standpoint. Like, I've been around like high level camps. I've seen some really fucked up things behind the scenes in this boxing game. So I'm always pro father, because nobody in the boxing game is going to love you or protect you or have your best interest like your father. But what I also know is that there's a lot of fathers in boxing that sometimes they it it can run its course. Look at a guy like Danny Garcia, who was a very good fighter. Danny Garcia was a very good fighter. Probably could have had a better career, probably could have won some fights, could have grown a bit more if he had maybe added another guy to his corner. But you know what? He was loyal to his dad, and I respect his decision. But you know, it did put a cap on how far he could go. Junior has made a decision here, and he said, you know what? I'm gonna go. You know, I'm gonna keep him around because it's still his dad. Like, you can't get rid of your dad. His dad's still gonna be around the team. He just won't be the head voice. So I'm really intrigued to see like who he brings to the table, because Top Rank, you know, according to Norman Jr. in the interview, he said that Top Rank's called him recently, and they're looking at dates for March, April. So he's going to be active again. They haven't canned Brian Norman Jr. They haven't thrown him to the wolves. They haven't said, hey, you know, get away from us. They still want Brian Norman Jr. as part of the Top Rank family, and they believe that they believe like me that he is still a welterweight with a lot of value. And Brian Norman Jr. also made it clear that, look, I'm going to learn from this. I'm going to grow from this, and I'm going to get that Devin Haney rematch back. And he's going to have to come see me again. So we'll see how that goes, because the division is starting to get a little bit deeper. You know, you got guys moving up to 47. I know Keyshawn Davis is targeting with the 147. And I think, look, I've already spoken on this before, but we'll go to screen share, and I'll bring it up again. Just so you guys understand, for those of you who didn't hear me say this about a month ago. All right, so you have the news. Brian Norman Sr. and Brian Norman Jr. are no longer, you know, I'm sure he's going to be around. Like, I'm sure he's going to be around. He's going to train at Granite City Boxing unless they change. I mean, I don't know. He didn't mention like what gym he was going to go to or anything like that, but I'll be led to believe that he's probably still going to be training at his original gym down there in Ellenwood, Georgia, Granite City Boxing. And so if that's the case, Senior's still going to be around. But Senior will not be leading the charge. You know, that's the route he decided to go. And, you know, they spoke about it, and you know, I don't know how Senior feels about it, but Junior is like, you know what? I got to do what's best for me, and I want to win. And he probably feels like, you know what? His dad has taken him to a great level, but he can't take him no further than he's already taken him. So he's looking for other answers, right? So that's his decision. We'll see if it's the correct one as time progresses and moves on. But right, when you look at the welterweight division, and I've already talked about this. I made a whole video about this, but I'll talk about it again because it's worth talking about now that this news has come in. I don't think Norman is getting an easy fight his next fight. I don't. I think, you know, like many top-ranked fighters. Well, am I on screen share? Make sure y'all on screen share. Okay, cool. We're on screen share. Make sure y'all smash that like button, okay? Make sure you guys smash that like button. It's True School After Dark. Brian Norman, like many top-ranked fighters, is going to go the WBO route, right? We know how it is. Like Bob Arum and the WBO, they're like this. And so you see him right there. He's coming in there at number 4. Now, when you look at Brian Norman Jr., I really think it's only 2 fights that could be made, maybe 3. But I'm going to say with him there at number 4, I don't think he fights Karen. I don't. Because nobody's manager is going to let their fighter fight Karen unless they have to. Not because Karen is this killer, but because Karen has a difficult style to deal with, and Karen might actually fuck around and beat you, right? And so you don't fight a guy like Karen until like it's an eliminator or something like that. He's just one of those guys, right? Norman is there at 4. He's not fighting Pacquiao. We know that already. So that leaves you with Polanco and Tiger Johnson, 2 top-ranked guys, 2 very formidable opponents. You got Rohan Polanco, Dominican Olympian, can punch, can counter punch. You know, he's athletic. That's a fight I actually want to see. And I'm hoping that if they do that fight, I would like to see Brian Norman have a homecoming fight in Atlanta. I think that'd be a good fight. I think Polanco's going to come and bring the fight to Norman. It's going to be more of the fight that Norman wants. And it'll be an entertaining fight. And it's a fight, you know, against an undefeated guy. And it's a fight where if he's not careful, if he hasn't maybe done his due diligence in camp, he might lose that fight, because Polanco's a multifaceted fighter. He's got a lot of amateur experience. He's a Dominican Olympian. Like, he's not no pushover. He's not no bum. He's not no can, right? So I like that fight. And then also Tiger Johnson. This is a guy in Tiger Johnson that for a long time was underwhelming. You could probably say that Tiger Johnson was fighting in the wrong weight class down there at 140. He moved to 47, and he's looked better as a welterweight. He fought Nicholas Flaus, a guy that people are looking at as a legitimate, you know, contender in the welterweight division. A lot of people didn't think Tiger Johnson was going to beat Nicholas Flaus. I did. I picked Tiger Johnson just because I thought he was better than Flaus, and he's fought at a higher level and those kind of things. But he's a very confident fighter, and you know, he's got a lot of great experience too. So I think those are probably the two realistic fights, but I could also see a scenario where maybe Brian Norman gets matched up with the number one contender. Maybe Top Rank says, you know what? You got Jack Catterall as number one. Go do that fight. Catterall, southpaw, can counterpunch. You know, he's trained by Bozy Ennis, who's a great trainer in his own right. That kind of would open up the Boots Brian Norman, I guess the wounds of the Boots Brian Norman rivalry. So there's kind of a storyline there, but I think he's probably gonna fight Polanco or Tiger Johnson next. And and I look forward to seeing who he picks as his trainer. I know, like, I've been reading a lot of the comments, and a lot of people have been saying like, oh, he should go train with Derek. I've seen like Derek James's name floated around out there. I've seen a lot of interesting names, but I'm looking forward to seeing like who the actual appointment is going to be. So we'll see how it goes. But either way, I look forward to seeing how the mouth of the South, Brian Norman Jr. rebounds. Let me see who we got. Let me go ahead and read some of these comments. We've got 20 comments. Being on the storm, my man Josh says he thinks it's a good decision that Brian Norman Jr. has made. Only time will tell. Only time will tell. Because his head trainer can teach him some new things and tricks, and he can give Norman a new perspective in the sport of boxing. Yeah, I mean, look, sometimes, not even just in boxing, but in life, like, you know, you could. Sometimes you need to hear a new voice. You need to get new ideas, get new perspectives, and I don't think it's the worst thing in the world. That will be an exciting fight. We'll get to him later. I have a lot of things to say about Dalton Smith later on. Shout out to Dalton Smith. I had a great time covering this fight. I would like to throw in Shane Mosley or Buddy McGirt as names I think will be great fits for Norman. Buddy McGirt, you know, very well-schooled trainer. We saw Frank Martin rebound after a long layoff and get a big knockout against Bartholomew. Now his name's back in the mix. Buddy McGirt has a long history of taking fighters coming off of very low moments in their career and getting them back on track. Look at like him with Arturo Gatti at one point in his career. Look at him with Sergey Kovalev after the loss to Ward. Look at there's been a lot of guys. My man said Norman did the right thing, letting his dad take a back seat. His dad enjoys the media a lot, which is great for us, but not for his son. His son is definitely more introverted and down low. The dynamic between Brian Norman and his dad, like as far as their personalities, it reminds me a lot of me and my dad. Because my dad, I'm very extroverted when it comes to boxing, like talking to you guys, talking to people in the fight game. When I go to fights, I love boxing, so I naturally just get really excited and light up when I get around people that share that same love with me. But generally speaking, I'm very to myself. I don't like I got maybe a handful of friends at most that I've known my entire life, and I don't really talk to too many people if I don't have to. You know, Norman, their dynamic reminds me a lot of me and my dad, and I think it's very similar to like Danny Garcia in Angel. The dad is more extroverted, the sons are a bit more to themselves, introverted. You understand? So I understand that dynamic to a T. Because you guys know my dad will talk to this wall. He'll talk to this wall. He'll talk to you guys. He'll talk to the dog. He'll talk to everyone. Me, I'm a bit more measured and calculated, and I like to stay to myself. So I definitely agree, and I definitely get it. Damn near everyone is being trained by their daddy these days. I feel like it's one of the best things. Like, I know not every dad is a great trainer, but I feel like I said, no one is going to have your best interest for you in this fight game more so than your dad. Yes, a lot of dads have done damages to their son, but like I said, for me, I'm always pro father in boxing because I know how cutthroat matchmakers are. I know how cutthroat managers are. I know how cutthroat just the behind the scenes people are. Maybe a lot of you guys I know aren't privy to that kind of stuff, but I am, and I know. So you need someone like your father that doesn't give a fuck about these people, that's gonna maybe step on some toes to make sure that you're okay, that you're good. So I'm always pro father, but I get it, you know. Shout out to my boy Hockey. Good to see you, champ. Norman Polanco to me is a great fight. It's one of the best fights that could be made in the welterweight division. In terms of excitement, in terms of, I would just say even like where both fighters are at, because you got Norman, who was champion. He took a tough loss, so you could say his stock is a little bit, it's gone down a little bit, right? But it's still higher than it was at this time last year. You got to remember, at this time last year, that's why perspective is so important. At this time last year, Norman was coming off of a hand injury. People were saying he was ducking boots. And he had a year where he was in 3 very high profile world title defenses, and they were all fights we're talking about. So his stock is at an all-time high, but it's lowered from what it was before the Devin Haney fight. Polanco is a guy who's just been steadily moving up the ranks and has a style to where, it's gonna ask some questions of Brian Norman Jr. So I like that fight a lot. I'm with you. Hopefully they can get it done. He said Angelo Leo, Isa Cruz, Devin Haney. Oh, these are all fighters trained by their dads. Yeah, and you could add Dalton Smith. He's trained by his dad as well. That's another one. So it's always going to be part and parcel of the game. You're always going to have dads training their fighters. And Teofimo Lopez as well. Like, I think it's a good thing. For the most part, it's a good thing. Norman is young enough to change. I think he still got something to give. I think Norman's main thing to work on is fundamentals, but not to the point of a style change so completely. So I like a Derek James. If I could make, a suggestion, right? And there's so many trainers out there, so I'm probably going to overlook somebody. I would actually say maybe someone like a Sugar Hill Stewart, someone like a trainer that's going to amplify Brian Norman's strengths. Sugar Hill Stewart's a guy that, if you look at his career, training guys like Tyson Fury, Adonis Stevenson, Vladimir Shishkin, Anthony Durrell. He's very much a trainer that has his fighters fighting really explosive from the mid and long range, punching through the target. He has that Kronk philosophy that he got from his uncle Manny Stewart. So I would suggest him, but if not him, I mean, there's a lot of great trainers. There's so many of them. You got guys like Ronnie Shields, you got Ishmael Salas, you got Miguel Leo, I saw people joking around saying that he should go train with Boots Ennis and Bozy because he said he's going to stay at 47. So now it wouldn't be a conflict of interest. They could actually train with each other. So I don't know. There's plenty of coaches out there. But what you guys let me know what you think about this whole ordeal. My man said the Inoue, Shingo Inoue. I mean, yeah, he was in Japan. He did train at the Ohashi gym. He did meet Inoue. He trained there about about a week or so. So shit, I mean, there's options. I'm sure there's a lot of people that would love the opportunity to train a young, dynamic, fun, hardworking fighter like Brian Norman Jr. So that's really all I gotta say on that. Y'all can keep adding to that if you want. We got a lot of things to get through, so I'm gonna try to get through it as efficiently as possible. But guys, do me a favor, smash that like button. If you're new to the channel, definitely take the time to subscribe. We're knocking on the door of that 90,000, and once we hit 90,000, you know what comes next. It's that drive to 100K. So I'm really excited for that coming up soon, and yeah. But listen, we got to switch gears a little bit. We're gonna stay in the welterweight division, kind of, because Oscar De La Hoya, he's made the headlines a lot recently. He said that he's made peace with Al Haymon. They're now singing "Kumbaya" around the campfire, and they're hugging each other, and everything is good. They're putting marshmallows on the damn sticks and turning them over, and they're making s'mores, and they're gonna make. And he's saying they're gonna make the biggest fights in America, right? Now I don't know if this is real, or I don't know if it's some hot bullshit, but either way, we're gonna discuss it, and we're gonna try to make sense of it, because right now there's not a lot of unity between Golden Weight Promotions and the team of Virgil Ortiz, right? You got Oscar going off on Rick Marigan, Virgil's manager, Rick Marigan going off on Oscar, and it doesn't appear that the boots fight will happen. So but before I get into all that, guys, I want to get you up, in case you haven't seen, I'll get you up to speed on it. I want to play you guys 2 videos, all right, about Oscar saying that he wants to sue Virgil Ortiz's manager, Rick Marigan, because Rick Marigan's been trying to negotiate behind Oscar's back. Oscar claims that it's a violation of the Ali Act. I'll play that for you guys, and then I'll play you guys the video about Oscar and Al Haymon making peace, and they're going to make the biggest fights, and him going off on Eddie about the divorce negotiations. So I'm going to play both those videos for you guys, and then we're going to come back and dissect and try to make sense of what all this means. So here we go. So here's the video of Oscar wanting to sue Rick Marigan. Smash that like button.
Yo, what's up, guys? Happy New Year, man. I've been busy this week finalizing the Ryan Garcia Barrios fight, and details will be announced on Monday. I'm really excited to be working with PBC and Haymon. Look, we have a lot of great matchups to be made as the U.S. top promoters, so I'm looking to keep the fights here in the U.S. In the meantime, Eddie Hearn is begging the media for this Boots and Virgil Ortiz fight. It's so stupid as a promoter to pigeonhole your fighter into one opponent. You lose your negotiating power, which ends up being a lot of lost money for your fighter. Also, every time a manager tries to be a hero and negotiate behind the promoter's back, they lose money for the fighter. And at the same time, violate the Muhammad Ali Act. And you know what? I'm gonna start sending legal letters enforcing this because I'm fucking tired of it. Some managers are just full of shit and I will be exposing them, trust me. Look, Virgil can fight 2 or 3 different guys in mega fights. He's got options. Imagine him with Errol Spence at Dallas Cowboys Stadium or Sebastian Fundora in a mega fight in Vegas. Boots is part of the plan, but it doesn't have to be next. But Eddie, since you're so desperate to make this fight, then let's do this. 60-40 for Virgil and 5% to the winner. Because I'm generous and I'm not moving off those numbers. You're the one who's begging for this fight. So let's go.
So a lot to unpack there. Like, I don't know. I can't believe Oscar really said with a straight face talking about Errol Spence. Listen, Errol Spence, guys, he don't want to fight no more. Errol Spence grew his hair out. He looks like he's a Rastafari guy. He's eating fruits on a boat with his girl. He's enjoying life. He ain't thinking nothing about boxing. Like he's basically retired. So that's disgusting. That's nasty work that they talking about Errol Spence. Then he's talking about Sebastian Fundora like it's some sort of mega fight. And I like Fundora. I think Fundora is an exciting fighter. But like I said, just because, as we saw Matias over the weekend in New York, just because a fighter is Puerto Rican or Mexican American, that doesn't automatically equal commercial value. They still got to be promoted right and have real momentum behind them. And that's not a big fight. Like that's not really a big fight like that. It's not an MGM grand fight in Vegas. You'd be lucky if it's a Mandalay Bay type of fight in Las Vegas. So, I just think it's Oscar de la Hoya trying to negotiate the media. And yeah, but anyway, here's the other video of Oscar talking about, he's made peace with Al Haymon. Listen to this.
All right, what's up, guys? As promised, a big announcement today. Ryan Garcia versus Barrios is finalized. It will happen February 21st in Las Vegas. And as you already know, Benavides versus Zurdo is also set for Cinco de Mayo weekend here in Las Vegas. That will be an absolute banger. Now, all that's left to be sorted out for the first quarter of 26 is who Virgil's next opponent will be. I said 3 days ago that I'll sign immediately for a 60-40 fight with Boots with 5% to the winner, which is fucking crazy generous considering Virgil Ortiz has the better resume. Boots is interchangeable with Fundora and Errol Spence. He needs this fight with Virgil far more than we do. But I'm willing to make the fight. Let's do this. Eddie, I haven't heard from you. And if I don't by the end of the day, I'm going to start discussions with other opponents, with Al Haymon and PBC. Oh, and surprise, motherfuckers. Al and I made peace. And we are united now. We literally can put on bangers all year with the rosters we have here in America. So, if anybody has an offer, you better come in fucking guns blazing because we are committed to making the biggest fights here in America. Have a great day. And I'm headed towards Palm Springs, Acrisure, to support Alexis Rocha and Raul Curiel this Friday on The Zone. Let's go.
So riddle me this, guys. Riddle me this. If what he's saying is true, if him and Al Haymon have already made peace, if they're holding hands by the campfire and roasting marshmallows and making s'mores and singing Kumbaya and can make the biggest fights in American boxing right now, then why negotiate to the media? Why not just go ahead and just make the biggest fights that you can make in American boxing, right? If Boots is truly interchangeable with Sebastian Fundora, who is a good fighter, who I like, but Sebastian Fundora couldn't even sell out his own living room. He couldn't even sell out his own shed in his backyard. He's not no ticket seller, right? Boots, say what you want about Boots, but Boots moves. He does numbers in Philadelphia. You could say, oh well, maybe the Lima fight didn't sell as much as other fights did in Philadelphia, but either way, even the Lima fight, which people criticize attendance for that sold more than anything Fundora has done. When Fundora fought and headlined in Carson, California against Ocampo, empty. When he fought Cordell Booker in Vegas, empty. He's not a ticket seller like that. So for Oscar to sit here and act like commercially Fundora is on the same level as Boots, he's not. And he's negotiating with the media. Now, as far as him and Al Haymon, I'm calling bullshit. I'm calling 1,000% bullshit, because if you really are on one accord with Al Haymon, remember, PBC, and I got love for the fine folks PBC. Like a lot of good people I know that work for PBC. But PBC did like 5 shows last year. They're not doing a ton of shows. They're not getting a ton of dates. I'm sure they would love the opportunity to put some big fights together and do more in the fight game. So if that was really the case, you wouldn't be talking about. You wouldn't even mention this. You would just go ahead and just do it. So I call bullshit on Oscar, and I feel like Oscar is just doing all this to try and maybe secure a better position with the zone. Because going back to screen share, right? With the zone, right? We all know that Oscar de la Hoya and the fine folks at Golden Boy, they have not renewed their DAZN deal, because part of the DAZN deal was that part of the DAZN contract was that they want to do the Boots Virgil fight, right? And right now, there's not a lot of unity within the Golden Boy and Virgil Ortiz team. You got Oscar trying to negotiate fights through the media, which is always stupid. And then you got Rick Morrigan, who is negotiating or trying to negotiate, according to Oscar himself, with the promoters, and it's got Oscar pissed off and talking shit about him publicly in a public forum. So when you get a team that's not on one accord, you're not going to get these deals done. That's just a fact of the matter. So ultimately, look, when you look at the current landscape of the fight game and television right now, ESPN is not involved really in boxing. Boxing has pretty much run its course and ran the well dry with most of the networks. So there's not really anywhere to go. And I had Rick Glazer on here roughly a week ago or so, and I asked Rick about Golden Boy and the zone and this whole ordeal, and he was saying that he believes Oscar can secure a deal with the network in LA because he got connections in LA, and I really just don't see it, because the reality is that unless it's like a Jake Paul or one of these crazy circus events, most networks in America that have already lost money on boxing do not currently see enough long-term value in boxing to invest into the sport. You understand? One of the only platforms that is investing into the sport at all, whether you love it or hate it, is DAZN. Golden Boy, I think they're gonna have to go to DAZN. And shout out to my boy Sean Zattel. I watched the most of his video that he did yesterday with the great brother Radio Raheem. Shout out to him too, another heavy hitter in the boxing media game. They were talking about the fact that Ryan Garcia versus Mario Barrios, and it's just purely a DAZN fight. This is it comes as a bit of a surprise, right? Because Barrios is a PBC fighter. We were expecting Amazon Prime to be involved or with this promotion, if not be the sole the sole broadcaster. Amazon Prime, or Ryan Garcia, I should say, his lawyer is Lupe Valencia, who we know has a lot of connections to Al Haymon. That's why Ryan Garcia, fought Tank on a pay-per-view fight a couple years ago, and it was a big event. But this is just an outright DAZN pay-per-view. So I feel like with this happening, Oscar sending his biggest name, his biggest draw, so to speak, to DAZN, like And this comes at a time where the DAZN Golden Boy deal hasn't been renewed. They're using this as a bargaining chip to get a better deal, and he's negotiating with the media to get a better deal. So that's all this is here, guys. I wouldn't put too much stock into it. I still do think, probably that the Boots and Virgil fight does happen this year. But I want to say this because I was doing some research last night. I want to show you guys because I can show you a lot better than I can tell you. And then I'll get to Virgil's manager here in a second, and then I'll go to the comments. So make sure you guys leave your comments down below. I'm not ignoring you. I'm just getting my talking points off because I gotta get this stuff off because my mind runs very fast, and if I don't say what I gotta say, I forget things. But look, I want to show you guys this about Virgil Ortiz and Ryan Garcia because it's these guys aren't young anymore. Like time moves fast. So look. I want to show you guys this just so you understand how ridiculous it is, how Virgil Ortiz's career is being ran. Right? Well, now Virgil Ortiz is an awesome fighter. Virgil Ortiz is one of my favorite fighters in boxing to watch. I think he's one of the very few must-see TV fighters in boxing. But the reality is this. You got Virgil Ortiz on one side. You got Ryan Garcia on the other side. Virgil Ortiz is, yes, he's fought better guys than Ryan. But Virgil Ortiz is looked at like he doesn't get criticized at all, right? He was born on March 25th, 1998, right? So remember that date. Ryan Garcia was born the same year in August of 1998, which means that Virgil Ortiz is what is that? He's about 5 months, give or take, 4.5 to 5 months older than Ryan Garcia, and he still hasn't won a world title. He's going to be 28, guys, in about 60 to 70 days or so. He's going to be 28, and he still hasn't won a world title. But this is a terrible look, and I think it speaks a lot to a couple of things. It speaks a lot to like the way Golden Boy has moved him. You understand? Rick Morrigan even to a degree. And and the sad thing about it is Ryan Garcia is fighting for the world title next month. If he wins a world title, as crazy as it may sound to you guys, Ryan Garcia will have become a world champion before Virgil Ortiz, and he's 5 years younger than him. That's where Virgil Ortiz's career is at. So I wanted to just highlight that before I get into Rick Morrigan. But anyway, getting into Rick Morrigan, and this is very important because Rick Morrigan does manage Virgil Ortiz. Rick Morrigan is a heavy hitter in the boxing game. He's managed Jose Ramirez. He's managed ton of fighters, right? Definitely one of the more influential behind the scenes guys. But here's what he said about the negotiations between Virgil and Boots, because you got Oscar saying that they're moving on. He's giving Eddie an ultimatum. He's throwing numbers out there in the media, which is never smart. And he says, look, and I quote, "We are not moving on. We never even participated in this negotiation, and it's our contractual right to participate, but we will now." At DAZN Boxing, try at least talking to the people that have the contractual right and authority to make a deal. That's usually how it works, and that's usually how it gets done. We are here to discuss, and I'm easy to reach. So there you go. So like I'm saying, I think the deal does ultimately get done because I think what's going to wind up happening is that I think, the DAZN will, Golden Boy will eventually go to DAZN because with the current climate of boxing programming, there's nowhere else to go, right? There really is nowhere else to go unless you have some sort of crazy connection to some network that hasn't already been burned by boxing already in terms of losing money. That's one thing. And then the second thing is, like these guys, like Oscar and Rick and Virgil's team, they all need to get on the same page. They're not on the same page, and that's never a good thing. So we'll see how it goes. In the meantime, if they don't fight, like I'll be honest with you, I'm over the Virgil Boots fight. Like I want to see it, and I'll get excited about it when the deal gets done. But right now, I don't care. Neither one of them have a world title, and I wouldn't mind personally. I wouldn't mind if Jaron Ennis fights the winner of the IBF world title fight later on this month. Whether it's Josh Kelly or whether it's Bakram, I would like to see Boots fight for that world title and do his thing, especially if it's Bakram, because I feel like Boots should have fought. I wanted to see him fight Bakram probably more than anybody in this division. But if Bakram loses, even better, because if Bakram loses to Josh Kelly, that's matchroom, easy fight to make. I mean, I don't know if Eddie wants to do that in Philadelphia or England, but either way, he's got contractual rights. He's got the first and last say on what happens to both those guys. So look, to me, I'm okay. I think that everyone right now, I've seen a lot of negativity about the 154 division, but I'm always a glass half full type of guy, or at least I try to be. I think things are going to be okay at 154 these next 5 to 6 months. Xander and Abbas Bro are going to unify. Whoever comes out of that will have 2 belts. Bakram and Kelly will do their thing. And then I think, once those 2 dominoes fall, you're going to see Virgil or Boots. I think Virgil or Boots might try to actually fight for a world title before they fight each other, because the reality is this: whether you like it or not, I feel like Virgil and Boots should be trying to fight right now with other titles, but world titles do add value to promotions, to a fighter's purse. It does make fights bigger. As much as you don't like it, until the fighter gets big enough to where he's bigger than the belts, like, that's just the case, right? So maybe we don't get Virgil versus Boots till later, like the 4th quarter of this year, or maybe this time next year. I don't know, but that's where I stand on everything. Where do you guys stand? Let me know in the comments down below, and definitely go ahead and smash that like button. I got like 18 comments. Let me go ahead and run through some of these comments. I know you guys got a lot to say. Slide Encounter is in the building. So good to see you, Slide Encounter. Virgil is under the fishnet protection plan. Yeah, I think Virgil would fight Boots. I think Virgil would fight any of these guys. He's already fought good opposition, but his handlers are not on the same accord. Rick Morrigan and Oscar de la Hoya are not seeing eye to eye, and it's really fucking up his career, because he's about to be 28 years old this year, and he still hasn't won a world title. Ryan Garcia might become a world champion before Virgil Ortiz. That's the kind of world we're gonna live in boxing, because these guys can't seem to get on the same page. Oscar said he wants the big fights in the U.S. If so, no fight is bigger than Virgil and Boots in America. Just sounds like negotiating caught on camera. Yeah, that's all it is. I think they'll re-up with the zone, to be honest. Ennis versus Virgil needs aura and needs belts. Well, then these guys gotta get. Listen, the time is ticking. These guys gotta get to work and start go fight the Bakrams or Josh Kelly or whoever comes out of Zayas and Abbas Bro. I don't want to hear about, like, I understand this sport is a business and you got to do what's best ultimately for yourself at the end of the day. But if they want to make this fight as big as possible, they have to actually like for me, everyone's just crowning Virgil and Boots and saying that these guys are the best in the division because people grade people they value these guys' a skill set at a high level, right? But the reality is neither one of them has really proven that they're the best in the division. Right now, this fight is only big just because of hype. Now, if one of them actually goes and beats up on one of the champions and gets a belt or two, it would make the fight bigger. They said Virgil is really out here trying to cherry pick Spence. That's Rick Morrigan and them. Virgil threw a little gasoline on it because he did mention it in the interview. So he's no better. But Earl Spence doesn't box no more. Earl Spence, listen, hold on. Now I gotta find it. Now hold on. Now I gotta go find the image so you guys can put a picture to what I'm saying. Bro, Earl Spence doesn't box anymore. Earl Spence is chilling. He's chilling. He's on a boat eating snacks and eating healthy food, just chilling with his girl. Like, he's not trying to box no more. And you know what? He don't gotta box no more. He gave his whole life to boxing. He was a U.S. Olympian. He was a 3-belt unified champion. He was a very good fighter in this time. Some people, maybe not me, but a lot of people would say Earl Spence Jr. is a Hall of Fame fighter, right? So he's given his contribution to boxing. Let that man go enjoy the fruits of his labor. And let me see, where's that picture at? Where's that picture at? There was a picture of Earl Spence on a boat. And the funny thing is, this picture right here. Hold on. This one right here. Look, this right here. Let me go to screen share. Hold on. This is who Virgil wants to fight, guys. In all respect to Earl Spence, like, enjoy life after boxing. But this is who Rick Morrigan and Oscar are trying to get Virgil Ortiz to fight. Look, this is Earl Spence. He's out. He's somewhere exotic, living his life. Eating healthy. I see a lot of greens in there. I see some fruits, some with oatmeal. I don't even know what he's eating, but he's eating good. He's living life. He's happy. Let the man be happy. Let that man live in peace. Stop trying to cherry pick Earl Spence and make an easy bag off the Earl Spence brand that he worked so hard to build all these years. You understand? Leave the man alone. We got a super chat. Shout out to my guy KG Steve 5129 for the $5 super chat. Thank you, champ. I appreciate your contribution. He says, "Yo, True School blessings, brother. What are your thoughts on T.O. Shakur, the raw and honest True School truth? What are my thoughts on it? Well, I was gonna talk about a certain angle of that fight in the next talking point, but I think it's a very good fight. Shakur Stevenson's going up to try to become a 4 division champion. He's fighting easily the best fighter he's ever fought, and definitely the most athletic fighter he's ever fought in Teofimo Lopez. So I think Shakur Stevenson boxing skills are going to get tested because I don't think T.O.'s going to fight Shakur. And I don't, you know what? Shakur is a smart fighter. I'm sure he understands. I don't think T.O.'s going to be like as aggressive as some people think, because a lot of people they think Teofimo Lopez is just going to come forward and be aggressive, and Shakur is going to be able to punch in between the shots and do his thing. Nah. I think T.O.'s going to try to be the slick boxer that he was in the amateurs. He's going to bring the slick boxer Gordo back to the table in this fight. I am picking Shakur Stevenson to win. It's hard for me to pick against Shakur Stevenson, but I mean, I'm not riding T.O. off. I think T.O.'s up for this fight. I think Teofimo Lopez is very up for this fight. I think I would expect to see, in terms of style and approach, I would expect to see the Teofimo Lopez that fought somewhere between the guy that fought Josh Taylor and the guy that fought Barbosa. I feel like that level of TOB in this fight, and he's going to need to be an even more sharper version of what he was in those fights to win, because that's how good of a fighter Shakur Stevenson is. But I got Shakur winning the fight. I think Shakur Stevenson wins a fight like 116, 112, something like that. But I do think that Teofimo Lopez, his athleticism, his reflexes and things like that, I do think it's going to give Shakur Stevenson problems in spots of that fight. If you go look at the Shakur Stevenson resume, and yes, he's been 3-division champion. He's a very good fighter. He's one of the best pound fighters in the world. But he ain't really fought no athletic fighters. Like let's keep it 100. Like, he's never really fought anybody close to as athletic as Teofimo Lopez. So I think that's going to give him some problems. Those are my early thoughts on the fight. Thank you. You guys want to know what I think about Rocha and Curiel? I'm picking Raul Curiel on this fight. I think he can fight better than he fought in the rematch, and I think he will. Xander is in a lose-lose situation because that Boots mandatory. If Virgil doesn't take the fight, but if Boots is so confident he's taking the 64 position, that Virgil it be in his benefit to him. Listen, man, a lot of these fighters ain't like that. They won't take pay cuts to be great. That's what I'm saying. Like, that's why I'm laughing, because while Virgil and Boots are over here, playing around, and Rick Marigan and Oscar are going to sue each other, and Eddie and Oscar are going back and forth in the media, good old Xander Zayas and Peter Collins remaining quiet and just getting down to business. Xander might have 2 of those belts in about 18 days from now. And if these guys keep being unserious, if they keep doing everything but fight for a world title, they might look up one day and it might be the Puerto Rican kid from South Florida, with all the belts. So I don't know. I wouldn't waste too much time if I was them. Anyway, I want to pivot into Teofimo Lopez, right? Because an interesting storyline, and this is a True School exclusive because nobody's covered this yet in boxing, because you got to really pay attention to what's going on to even know that this is happening. But I wanted to give you guys this story. Now, Stacey McKinley, great friend of the channel, great trainer, has been, he's trained many fighters like Ricardo Mayorga, Michael Nunn, Tony Tucker, Alexander Povetkin, Amir Young Master Imam. Just been a part of a lot of great fighters' careers. I've interviewed him a lot over the years. I know I've learned a lot about boxing and life from Stacey, so I know how great of a trainer he is. Teofimo Lopez and Stacey have had a relationship for a long time. Just so you guys know, before I play a clip for you guys, it was reported today that Stacey McKinley himself on his own Facebook page, and I'll show you guys right here. He announced that he will be part of the team helping to train Teofimo Lopez alongside Teofimo Sr. for the Shakur Stevenson fight. Now, this is very intriguing because, like I said, Stacey McKinley's been around big fights. Obviously he trained Mike Tyson towards the end of his career. This was the announcement earlier today Stacey McKinley said right here, as you guys can see, and I quote, "The universe has spoken. The Lopez family welcomes Hall of Fame trainer Stacey McKinley to serve as part of the takeover boxing on January 31st. Oh my God, only in America." Right now, like I said, Stacey McKinley, amazing trainer, great boxing mind, knows how to beat a style like Shakur Stevenson because he's done it before. Like he was in the corner many years ago when Ricardo Mayorga beat up on Vernon Forrest, right? He was part of that camp, and he's been around a lot of big fights. Not just I can go on about Stacey, right? That being said, the other day, like about a week ago, I had posted something on Facebook, and Stacey McKinley told me to call him, right? Because he said he had a story for me. So I called him, and he said, "Brendan, what do you think about Teofimo Lopez and Shakur Stevenson? What do you think about that fight?" And I told Stacey, I said, "Hey, I like Teofimo. I would like to see him win because he is a South Florida guy, even though he don't really claim South Florida like he should, but he still did grow up with Dave Powell. He did grow up training with Stacey McKinley here and there. Stacey ain't lived nowhere else but South Florida for the last 20, 30 years. So, he is a product of the South Florida fight game, right? I want to see him win. I want to see him do well. Always root for him. But I don't think he's going to beat Shakur." I told him that. He said, "Why do you think that beats you?" And I was like, "Look, I just think that Teofimo Lopez struggles with southpaws. And when you watch that Sandor Martin fight, there's some things that Sandor Martin does that Shakur Stevenson can also do at a higher level. And I just think that, Shakur's an outpoint him. But I do think the athleticism of Tia will give him trouble in some spots. And yeah, he sounded kind of offended when I told him that. And then I asked him, I said, "Stacey, are you training Tio?" Because he had made another Facebook post where they were pictured together. So I kind of already suspected that they were training together. And he was like, "We'll talk after the fight." So I'm hoping to get it. I'm hoping to get him on the channel before the fight. But I think this is a great move from Teofimo Lopez. And for me personally, I'm bumping his chances up about 10% having Stacey in his corner. They have a lot of familiarity. Stacey's seen a lot of styles throughout the years. And I think it's a great move. And look, just so you guys know, just to paint the picture for you guys, look, I'm gonna play you guys a video. This is Teofimo Lopez and Stacey McKinley training with each other before Teofimo Lopez was a pro. When Teofimo Lopez was a teenager. Watch this right here. Watch this. Come on, bro. Hey, bro. So there you go. So he's working with Stacey McKinley for this fight, and I'm really intrigued to see how it goes. Everyone knows Teofimo Lopez as like he came up through Top Rank early in his career. Everyone remembers the Diego Magdaleno knockout. Everyone remembers how he knocked out Richard Coleman with the right hand to win the world title, to win his first world title. So there was this perception that he's a knockout puncher. And at 135, Teofimo Lopez had great punching power, but he's not a knockout puncher. If you go back to his amateur days, from those days from when that clip was shot with Stacey McKinley, down in South Florida, we call him Gordo, right? And he was a slick boxer. That was his style, right? And I think for this style of Shakur Stevenson, he's going to bring that style back, and he's going to mix it a little bit with some of the things that Stacey McKinley brings to the table from a power punching standpoint. And I think he's going to be really, really good at come fight night. And I'm excited to see how they game plan to beat. Probably, I would say, yeah. I'm very intrigued to see how, Teofimo Lopez, Teofimo Sr., and Stacey McKinley game plan to beat boxing's most efficient fighter. Because I don't care if you love Shakur Stevenson. I don't care if you hate Shakur Stevenson. There's no doubt about it. He is the most efficient fighter in boxing. He's the hardest guy to hit. He don't throw a whole lot of punches to beat you. Like he's efficient. And to quote Paulie Malignaggi made a reference that I'm very familiar with because he said, boxing is the only sport where you can win and get criticized for it. And then he made a hockey analogy. He said, the New Jersey Devils back in the early 2000s, they used to win tons of Stanley Cups with the neutral zone trap, and it produced some of the boringest fucking hockey I've ever seen in my life. They had a great goalie. They had Martin Brodeur. They had a couple of defensemen like Scott Stevens and them. They had, a couple decent forwards that could put the puck in the net, but it was boring hockey. But people recognized them for the greatness of their structured neutral zone trap. Shakur Stevenson is like the 2000s New Jersey Devils of boxing. He wins, don't look the most exciting, but he's efficient, much like the Devils were back in the early 2000s with that neutral zone trap. So to kind of piggyback off that super chat I got that I answered earlier, I want to go through Shakur Stevenson's resume because I want to show you guys what I'm talking about. And actually, no, not Stacey. Actually, yeah, I wanted to go through Shakur's resume because on paper it's an exceptional resume. He's 24-0. He's never lost. He's never come close to losing. Every fight has been by decision or stoppage, right? But if you look at the styles, I don't really care about the names. I don't really care about like their accomplishments. I don't give a fuck about none of that. I'm just saying, look at the styles. Look at like Joet Gonzalez. Look at Felix Carbajal. Look at Toka Khan, Clary. Look at Nakatilia, Valdez. Like the majority of the guys that Shakur Stevenson has fought are, fighters that like to hold their feet, that aren't very athletic, that he can set the pace against, that he can be comfortable against. And against a guy like Teofimo Lopez, who I think Teofimo Lopez, when he's right, and you guys know this, we've been watching Teofimo Lopez for years now in the pros. When he's right, when he's truly dialed in, and when he's right, there's very few, if any, as special in this fight game as Teofimo Lopez. He brings a unique blend of athleticism and creativity to the table. And I think those things, if harnessed properly, can give Shakur Stevenson a lot of problems. But I am picking Shakur Stevenson to win by decision because it's just hard to pick against a guy who's so damn efficient. It's not exciting, but at the most exciting at times, but he's so damn efficient. But if there was a guy that I think could beat Shakur Stevenson, honestly, as I've now began to really start to think about this fight a lot more in the last couple weeks or so, I think it's Tio. I think Tio can do so. I think Tio has a great chance to beat Shakur, but I'm just not. I don't feel comfortable betting against someone who's that damn efficient in the boxing ring. But he just hasn't fought anybody as athletic as Tio, and I think that is going to give Teofimo Lopez some advantages in this fight, but he's going to need to do a little bit more than a lot more than just be athletic. Athleticism is only one advantage he has over Shakur Stevenson. He has to make sure he's defensively sound. He has to be patient. He has to get Shakur Stevenson to overcommit, which is very hard because Shakur Stevenson is so patient and so he doesn't care. Like, he fights within himself. He's not going to do what Devin Haney did against Ryan Garcia. He's in a box within himself, and he's going to stick to the game plan. So I'm intrigued. Shout out to Stacey McKinley. I'm not gonna lie to you. It makes me want Tio to win that much more, just having Stacey in his corner. But I'm not betting against until someone actually beats him and shows me otherwise. I'm not gonna bet against the most efficient fighter in the whole sport of boxing. That's Shakur Stevenson. You know what I'm saying? So we'll see. Bro, that Valdez fight was a true work of art. No, it wasn't. He stood in the pocket. I mean, he was pretty heavy that fight compared to Valdez, but he stood in the pocket. He did his thing. We'll see. I'm really intrigued to see. Okay, if Teofimo Lopez's athleticism does give Shakur Stevenson problems, and Shakur Stevenson can't set the pace, and maybe the slickness of Teofimo Lopez, if that gives Shakur Stevenson any sort of trouble, if Shakur has to actually box a bit different in this fight, does he have as deep of a bag as people think? We shall see. Because, I mean, to his credit, against Zepeda, he showed that he can find the pocket. I already knew that, and anybody who was honest about Shakur already knew that. But he showed that he had that. But will Shakur Stevenson be the elite counterpuncher if he needs to? Can he put Tio on the back foot if he has to? I'm intrigued to see these things because I think Teofimo Lopez is good enough to make Shakur have to dig into his bag a little bit. And if he does, and there's not as many tools in there as we think, then we're going to have something very interesting to speak about. My man Chris says, I follow some of Tio's family. As of recent, I'd say Tio's in a happy state of mind. His old coach Milton was posting traveling, so I knew Tio wasn't with him this camp. Yeah. And I'll tell you this. I've spoken to Stacey McKinley about Teofimo Lopez. There's old interviews on this channel of Stacey McKinley, who's going to be part of Tio's team, talking about Tio 5-6 years ago. I'm going to say it was like Tio's first 4 or 5 pro fights and towards the latter stages of his amateur career, because Tio, he trains down in South Florida. Stacy was working out of the heavyweight factory all those years ago. He used to come to the heavyweight factory, him and his dad at night, and they used to go train and get working with Stacy. So they got a long history together. And I'm looking very forward to seeing what Stacy can help Tio bring to the table. So we shall see. All right. Let me answer some comments because I still got what? I got 1, 2, 3, 4. I got 5 talking points left to get through, and we're already an hour in. So I told you this is probably gonna be a 3-hour live. If you guys haven't done so already, make sure you guys smash that like button, run it up so that the YouTube algorithms let the world know that you like True School Sports, that you like this boxing content. You know, the YouTube algorithms, they try to keep us down. They try to suppress the real and push up the fake. And you guys got to help me like continue to climb in the boxing game because I'm here for you guys. I'm here for the boxing fans. I'm here for the fight game and yeah. Anyway, let me go to these comments, man. My man Joel says that Devin Haney is like the early 2000s New Jersey Devils. I don't think so. Devin Haney is a great fighter. He's a fantastic fighter. And, you know, I was wrong in the Brian Norman Jr. fight, but he ain't as good as the 2000s. He's not as good as the 2000s New Jersey Devils, in my opinion. I got Shushu beating Castro. I got Shushu beating Castro too, but I'm not really confident about it. Like, I'm picking him to win, but I don't think I don't think Bruce Carrington has exercised the demons of Suleiman Sagawa because Suleiman Sagawa was a counter puncher, a guy that can keep things nice and disciplined and professional, and he can push you on the back foot and be the volume puncher at times if he needs to be. After like the Sagawa fight, Top Rank never really put him in with any styles that were similar to that. You know, he fought Donna Kuel, Mateus Hayta, and some other guy. So just 3 come forward guys that were tailor made for his counter punching style. Castro is not like that. Castro is a long, lanky, rangy, disciplined fighter. He might be a bit on the back nine, and he's not a special talent or anything like that, but he knows how to keep things long and professional. He knows how to counter punch. So I don't know. I think it could be a boring fight, and I'm picking Shushu just because I think he has more firepower, and there are going to be times where Castro does give him that those mid-range counter punching opportunities he's looking for. But I'm not like overly confident about it. So for me, this is a real watershed moment in Bruce Carrington's career because Castro's always been one of those guys. Yeah, he never got over the hump at the top level, but the only guy that really definitively beat him was Brandon Figueroa. When he fought Luis Neri, that was a close fight. And when he fought Stephen Fowon, a lot of people thought that he beat Stephen Fowon and he put Stephen Fowon on his ass. So he's a capable fighter. Enrique Vivas, yeah, that was it. He fought Vivas, he fought Matias Hayta, and he fought Donna Kuo. All 3 of those guys are come forward fighters who are tailor-made for mid-range explosive counter punchers like Bruce Carrington. You understand? Like, he never had to really exercise the demons of the kind of style and of what gave him problems in the Sagawa fight. Now, what I will say is this. I do know that Bruce Carrington has enlisted the services of Coach Bobby McCroy. Bobby McCroy will be part of the team along with K. Crow. Bobby McCroy is a guy that trained Rais Aline for the majority of his career. He also trains Will John Mindaro and a lot of other fighters. Very smart guy, very astute boxing mind. He's a guy that is an offensive coach. Right. And a guy that's built for explosive fighters. He needs to be there's going to be parts of this fight against Castro where he's going to need to be more explosive. So I look forward to seeing how all that plays out. All right, last comment, and then I'll go into my next talking point. TSM wants to know, what are my thoughts on Keyshawn Davis saying he was drinking every day during his last camp? My thoughts on that is that a lot of people in the world have vices. For some people, it's drugs. For some people, it's drinking alcohol. For some people, it's women, right? And fighters are no different than anybody else. The only difference between fighters and regular human beings is that they fail in front of everyone. So to that, I say alcoholism is a hard thing to overcome, and I hope that he can nip that in the butt and lock in, because it would be a shame if Keyshawn Davis doesn't reach his full potential in the fight game because he was an alcoholic. Look at a guy like Pinklin Thomas. I had a chance to meet him at the convention. He was a 2-time heavyweight champion. He was supposed to be the guy that was supposed to beat Larry Holmes, but he could never keep that drug addiction enough at bay to be his best self. But he still, in spite of that, he still became champion 2 times. So, you don't want to have any, at the end of your life and at the end of your career, you don't want to have any what ifs. You want to know that you maxed out everything to the highest potential. You understand? So I'll leave it at that. All right, guys. Next talking point. You guys are gonna love this one. I'm sure you guys are gonna have a lot of fun with this one. I want to talk some Richardson Hitchens because we know Hitchens. He does a lot of this. Like damn near all the New Yorkers do. I love my New Yorkers. Like my mom was born in New York, but my mom is from Manhattan. So you could say I got New York roots. I'm not a New Yorker. I'm from South Florida, but a lot of New Yorkers they just talk, right? And he's no different. He represents what a New York fighter is. He talks a lot. And some people love it. Some people hate it. He's a polarizer figure in the 140 division. And he's called out a lot of guys over the last couple of months. He's talked shit about Brian Norman Jr. He's talked shit about, Matias, all these kind of things. He's been, Frank Martin is another one. He's been linked to a lot of big fights, but now, and we'll go to screen share, as it's been reported, as you guys see on the screen, now it has been reported that Richardson Hitchens, he is going to fight, or he is at least in negotiations. It's not finalized, but he is in negotiations to fight none other than Oscar Duarte. Now, and by the way, this will be on the Ryan Garcia Barrios undercard if the fight does happen. Now, for me, look, to put my manager's hat on, I don't think it's a bad situation for Hitchens. I feel like Ryan Garcia and Barrios is gonna do numbers because of Ryan Garcia. Ryan Garcia has a fan base. Ryan Garcia attracts a lot of people that don't normally watch boxing to boxing, And so I think the event is going to do well with or without Hitchens on the undercard. But to have Hitchens on the undercard and defend his belt, if he can go on there and look good, it's going to raise his value. So from a managerial standpoint, I don't think it's a bad thing. But from a competitive standpoint, this is not a good look for Hitchens because, as Devin Haney went off on him recently because Devin Haney said pretty much, look, and I quote, hold on. You call out everybody to fight nobody. You called me out, Keyshawn, T.O., Super Matias, Gary Anton Russell, Brian Norman Jr., Dwayne Ortiz, Frank Martin. You just be clout chasing, bro. Get in the field, fuck boy. Then those are Devin Haney's words, not mine. You understand? So, and to Devin's point, he has called out all those guys. He's called out Keyshawn. They were just going back and forth. Him and T.O. literally had the same manager. I don't know how Hitchens and T.O. didn't get a fight done when they had the same manager. That's kind of fishy to me. As far as Matias, hold on, let me play this for you guys. As far as Matias, right? This is what he said, Matias.
Champions, who you want first? Like, how do you think you line up against Haney? How do you line against Rowley? How do you line against Mattel? How do you line against T.O.?
I will fight any one of them guys. I will fight any one of them guys, like I said before, besides fighting for the IBF with Subriel Matias. I feel like Subriel Matias is a tough test for any fighter. If it was another champion that wasn't as a force to be reckoned with like Subriel Matias, I probably would have took a risk and fight for the IBF. But because I know the chances entering that ring, I would want to be at my best. So I feel like but besides him, if I got the first opportunity I get at any other belt, it'll be a great.
And the thing is, Richardson Hitchens, he held true to his word because as soon as Matias lost that belt, he fought Liam Parr, right? So going back to screen share because I had to play that for you guys just to refresh memory. And yeah, he talked, Gary Anton Russell. He told Gary Anton Russell to get his name up. He talked shit about Brian Norman Jr. For Hitchens to go through that whole gauntlet of people he called out and not get any one of those fights done to fight Duarte, it's a terrible look. And people are going to criticize him for it. It is what it is. But I don't hate the Duarte fight. If anything, I like the Duarte fight because if you look at what's given Hitchens problems in the past, think about the Gustavo Lemos fight. What is Gustavo Lemos? Gustavo Lemos was a tough, rugged guy who got in his chest and brought the fight right to him. And Hitchens barely squeaked out a victory against Lemos. A lot of people thought he lost against Lemos. So for me, I'm looking at this fight as a potential fight where Hitchens may have to exercise some demons and some ghosts of the past against Duarte. Duarte is physical. He's strong. He's not no bum. Like he fought Ryan Garcia, lost to him, but then he came back. He beat Kenneth Simmons Jr., who was probably one of the better 140 pounders in the division. So this is a real fight. It's not a bad fight. It's just not. It's not what the other fights are in terms of profile, in terms of it being a meaningful fight for Hitchens. I don't hate the Duarte fight. If anything, I think the Duarte fight is I'm cool with it. Like I'm actually cool with it. You know, people are gonna call him a duck, and you know I'm not mad at them for it because you know I've been probably one of the most vocal. Even now with Matias getting his ass whooped, I still don't think he would fight Subriel Matias. I think deep down Hitchens just knows like that's a terrible style for him. He saw what happened with Lemos, and he don't want to deal with what Matias brings to the table for 12 rounds. You know, and mind you, Hitchens is a big 140 pounder. He no small 140 pounder. He's a big 140 pounder. He's gonna be a welterweight really, really soon. So, do I like the Duarte fight? Actually, yeah, I would damn near say I love the Duarte fight because I think Duarte can do some of the same things Lemos did, and I think it's an opportunity for Hitchens to exercise some of the things that gave him some problems when he fought Lemos. Like what they're doing with Hitchens is what I wanted to see with Shushu before he got this title shot. I wanted to see Shushu in there with another like counter puncher, another long rangy fighter who can slow the pace down on him and kind of like what Segawa did. But he didn't do that. And now I feel like, you know, he's fighting Castro, who he might just be more talented than, so it might not matter. And Castro always finds a way to lose on the biggest level, even when he has his best performances. So it might not matter. But from a preparation standpoint, I do think it's not the smartest thing to do. Hitchens is fighting Duarte, who's not a slouch, who's coming off of a big win, who just beat Kenneth Sims Jr. And if Hitchens is not on his P's and Q's, if he overlooks him, he might lose this fight. He might even get knocked out. So I'm okay with this fight. What do you guys think? My man A-Buck says Matias not having a belt anymore is even less of a reason for people to fight him now. I feel like a lot of these fighters, they after seeing how Dalton Smith was able to light him up with the right hand, it might actually give him some more confidence. But I would be led to believe that with him not being a big money fighter, like you're not going to get a lot of money fighting Matias, unless of course, you know, Fresh Productions overpays for a purse bid. But in a non-title situation, I don't think you get a lot of money fighting Subriel Matias. So yeah, I think honestly, I think Hitchens and a lot of guys at 140 to themselves behind closed doors, they're thanking Dalton Smith. They're like, phew, we don't got to worry about that guy no more. Africa is one of the coolest guys I met. When he's healthy, he's problems for anyone. I think the IBF 10-pound clause was killing him for the longest. When he fought Paro, he invested a lot in the camp. I'll say this, man. I mean, I got to see both sides of Hitchens when I met him. The one time I met him, I got to see the pissed off Hitchens going into the fight, who was going off me for things I said in the video, and I got to see the cool side of Hitchens. And I think he's a cool guy. We have a mutual friend in Pistol Pete Dobson, so. You know, I know things about Hitchens through Pete, and he's a good dude. I've heard nothing but great things about him from Pete and everyone I know in the New York fight scene that's been around him. But as far as the IBF 10-pound clause killing him, I mean, look, at some point, I think this might be his last fight at 40. He's huge for 140. I have no idea how he makes 140, to be honest with you. This might be it, because if he goes in there against Duarte, it's very possible, even if he wins, this might be, even if he wins, a repeat of the Lemos fight, because Duarte got that same style, and I would even argue that Duarte is a much more physically imposing, physically strong fighter than Lemos, and he's won at a higher level, you know. And like my man right here said, Duarte can punch. Hitchens better take him. Yeah, I agree. He better take him seriously, and it's gonna really test the Richardson Hitchens jab. I've gone on. I've always given Richardson Hitchens his flowers. I've always said, look, man, I think he got one of the top 5 best jabs in boxing. He's really only a world champion, and he's only the main reason he's looked at and why he is an elite fighter is because of that jab. Other parts of his game have improved to an above average standpoint, but to me, what makes him truly elite is his boxing IQ and his jab. but it's going to be tested in this fight because Duarte may not have the jab Hitchens has, right? But Duarte can get underneath shots, and he's one of them guys. You're going to hit him, and he's going to keep coming forward over and over again. He can take a punch very, very well. So I'm looking forward to seeing how Hitchens deals with that style. If this fight goes ahead and actually does get made, you know. But I think honestly, I think he should go to 47 after this fight. I know there might be a chance to unify with Dalton. I would say for his sake and for him not being so weight drained, go to 47 after this fight. Like, I would love to see a much more fresher, stronger Richard Hitchens. When Africa met Matias, he did say in person the 10-pound clause would hurt him, but in a unification, definitely with no clause, he would fight Matias for sure. He would listen. I hear you, and I saw what he said. But whenever he talked about making certain fights happen, he was never really adamant about making Matias. He may have mentioned that once or twice here and there, but Matias was never a guy that was high on his priority list when he was a mandatory, when he was a contender, and when he was a champion. So I just think that's not a fight he ever really wanted, to be honest. My man Rap Machine said Duarte is gonna absolutely run over Richardson Hitchens. We shall see, man. It's going to be a really good test of his durability and his jab and his focus as a fighter. I'm actually hoping the fight gets done. A lot of people are saying, Hitchens is a duck. He's ducking Devin. He's ducking Brian Norman Jr. He's ducking Tio. He's ducking Gary Anton Russell. I don't even care about that. To me, this is a good fight. If Hitchens was fighting, let's go to the rankings real quick. If Hitchens was fighting, let me see. If Hitchens was fighting a guy like, let me see. Hold on. Let me go to these rankings right quick. We go to 140. Like if Hitchens was if he fought, I don't know, Sean McComb or Pierce O'Leary or this guy who I never heard of, Hovannes Bachkov. If he fought like them kind of guys, if he fought, even if he fought a guy like Adam Azim, then I would have something to say. If he fought Henry Cedeno, if he fought one of them kind of guys, and some of those guys are good fighters, but you know what I mean? Like if he fought one of those guys, then I would say, yo, you are just ducking the whole weight class. But he's fighting Duarte, and Duarte is coming off a win against one of the better 140 pounders out there, and Kenneth Sims Jr. Kenneth Sims Jr. guys was on an 8 or 9 fight win streak before Duarte upset him. And Duarte's been in there at Ryan Garcia, so he's a good fighter. All right, last comment, and then I'm gonna get to my next talking point. I saw in the media that Adam Azim is pushing for a near future fight with Hitchens. I wonder if Hitchens will stay at 140 for that fight. No, that fight's not going to happen. Adam Azim doesn't bring enough money to the table. He's not presently a mandatory challenger. Hitchens can't make 140. So I think Azim, more than likely, I think Azim is probably going to fight for a vacant title in the future. Ben Shalom and Boxer will probably do that. Right now, he's just attached to his knee to Hitchens to get himself some clout. That fight's not happening. Azim could fight for a vacant world title, and if he wins a vacant world title, I think Dalton Smith and Adam Azim becomes one of the biggest fights to make in the 140 division. And really, probably one of the biggest fights in British boxing. Hot take alert. Fresh promotions that Eddie Hearn should collaborate in good faith with WBO. Order Matias versus Haney at 147. Fuck it, I'm cool with that. That's not happening, but that's a cool idea, Joel. You might maybe you got to go to Eddie Hearn and tell him yourself. That's not happening. Hey BT, you gotta make a video on Top Ranks TV broadcast, right? 7 months in and no deal. At some point, yeah, I'll have to do one. I'm gonna give it another month. I'm gonna wait till after my birthday to do that video. My birthday is February 11th. I'll be 31 this year already. Damn, we get more handsome with time. Anyway, going to my next talking point, guys. I want to pivot into my next talking point because, like I told you, this is gonna be a 3-hour show. We almost hour and a half, and we're almost at the halfway point. So, do me a favor, smash that like button if you haven't done so already. Definitely take the time to subscribe. Definitely super chat. Definitely do all that good stuff. We hear it's the untouchable True School Sports Empire off to a pretty solid start here in 2026, giving you guys that world class boxing content. Give me 1 second. I want to check something right quick on my phone. Because right now we got what do we got? Listen, man, we got. What are we doing, guys? We got 23 likes. There's 39 of you here. I only got 24 likes now. I should have been had 30 likes already. So listen, don't be stingy, guys. Smash that like button. because I need y'all to. So this video gets out. There's other boxing fans, guys, that don't see that I'm live. So when you hit that like button, it pushes it out to them. Run it up, because we here. I'm giving you guys a 3-hour live. Don't be stingy on me now. Anyway, next talking point. I want to talk some Zuffa boxing, and I want to give a shout out to my boy. Give a shout out to my boy Isan, because he inspired the talking point. Now the talking point is this: is Zuffa boxing selling piss as Cabernet Sauvignon wine to the boxing fans? What in God's green earth are these matchups that are being made from Zuffa boxing? As Dana White talked all this shit about all these promoters and how they're going to build the sport up, but they're going to do all these big things, and he's making these fights that Top Rank can easily make. He's making these fights that Pro Box can make. And I don't really see anything different here. So I know it's early. I don't want to be overly hyperly critical, but these matchups is not it. And y'all can tell me what you think. Like, y'all can tell me what you think about these matchups, and you can tell me if I'm hating. You have the license to tell me right now if I'm hating, because these are the matchups, guys. These are your opening Zuffa boxing matchups. So, later on in the month, in about 9 days, down there at the Apex, we're going to get Callum Walsh. Yes, King Callum Walsh. He's going to go ahead and fight Carlos Ocampo. Now, Callum Walsh is a good little fighter. He's at 154. He's been a guy that Dana White has been closely watching and investing in it for years, because for those that know, for those that don't know, Callum Walsh is promoted by Tom Loeffler, right? 360 Promotions, right? Tom Loeffler and 360 Promotions get a certain amount of fight dates per year on UFC Fight Pass. So there was already that working relationship with Dana White and UFC before TKO boxing ever became a thing in the sport. You understand? So Callum Walsh has been a guy that they believe in, and they're investing into. Now, I'm not overly impressed with Callum Walsh. He fought Fernando Vargas Jr. I didn't really see a difference in class between him and Fernando Vargas Jr. And Fernando Vargas Jr. is, in my opinion, is not even a top 30 or 40 fighter in the 154 division. So it's a red flag to me. Callum Walsh is just big. He comes forward. He throws a lot of punches, right? Or I wouldn't even say a lot of punches. He throws a lot of heavy punches. You understand? He's going to fight Carlos Ocampo. Now, Carlos Ocampo has been around for a while. We all know many years ago he was an Earl Spence Jr. mandatory opponent. Earl Spence Jr. knocked his ass out like in 1 or 2 rounds down there at the Dallas Cowboys practice facility about 8 years ago, right? He fought Fundora, took Fundora the distance, but Fundora was just trying to box him. He wasn't even trying to knock him out. So this is not like a crazy matchup. But as my boy Isan eloquently stated in this tweet right here, Zuffa boxing is selling us piss as wine. They're selling us piss as Cabernet Sauvignon wine. Like, I don't know what's going on, man. This matchup I like a bit more. You got Efe Ajagba versus Charles Martin on February 14th. But really, like, objectively speaking, like, that's not even really a great matchup either. I just like it because it's 2 heavyweights, 2 limited heavyweights that can punch. Odds are you're going to get a knockout. So your first show will be January 23rd between Callum Walsh and Carlos Ocampo. Your second show will be Efe Ajagba versus Charles Moore on Valentine's Day, 2 heavyweights. So this is the beginning of the Zuffa era. And I want y'all to tell me in the comments, and please do not hold back. Please feel free to speak as freely as you want and curse and do whatever you need to do in the comments, because I feel like they're trying to sell us piss as wine, like my friend said. What is the plan? Like, are they going to actually get top tier upper echelon talent? I know they said they wanted to do a league, so maybe this is the minor leagues, and then I think he said that like Riyadh season is the major leagues. So Callum Walsh and Charles Martin and Efe Ajagba, they're in the minor leagues. Like, I don't know. But what do you guys think? I'm not really like I don't hate the matchups, but I don't love them either. Like, it is what it is. Like, I'm gonna watch them. We'll see what happens. My man right here says, I was surprised to see Justin Valoria sign over there. I thought of one of the major promotions would scoop him up. I think Jalil Hackett has to deal with them also. A lot of fighters. So look, this is where we're in an interesting place in boxing, because there's so many talented fighters that slip through the cracks that aren't getting the investment from major promoters. So we're not getting the investments from Golden Boy, from Top Rank, from Matchroom, from PBC. Then what's a fighter to do? What is a fighter to do if he's not in that top 1%? Well, you know what? A lot of them are going to consider Zuffa Boxing because they got a structured pay scale, even though the money, even though the money isn't great for like the champions. If you're a fighter that's 10-0, 9-0, 11-0, and you're not getting any real opportunities from big time promotions, any real looks from the big time promotions, you're gonna go that route because it might be your best chance to make a living in imprint in the fight game. So I'm not surprised that guys are signing with them, but I don't think they're gonna get like the elite world championship type guys. Mooney's Gamble mentioned it. He says, Raul Valenzuela signs the G League. These main event Zuffa fights might not even take the main card of the Top Rank cards back when they were on ESPN. Yeah, I was surprised that Raul Valenzuela signed with them, but it goes to show you that a lot of these fighters don't have options. A lot of options. Boxing's not in a safe place because this is a guy that was a world champion. This is a guy that boxed Pitbull Cruz's ears off. This is a guy that's been in notable fights. He's been at a good level in boxing for a good amount of time now. But Callum Walsh versus Ocampo, terrible matchup, like an absolutely terrible matchup. Jagba versus Charles Martin, that's a fight that Top Rank would do. Like, you guys remember when Top Rank had the shows in Oklahoma? Remember when Top Rank would have those random shows in Oklahoma? That's like a Top Rank Oklahoma show. So my thing is this: they got to go ahead and step it up. They got to go ahead and step that shit up. Honestly, for me. Happy early birthday, Unc. Yeah, man, I'm becoming an Unc now. I'm no longer a YN. I'm Unc now. Recent 360 fighter Cletus Selden popped again. Zuffa definitely would have signed him. That Cletus Selden guy had a solid following and has fought on many of Dana White's cards. Yeah, I was actually there. That was in Orlando. He was supposed to fight on the show that they had during the WBA convention. I actually remember that I had a conversation with Elliot Grant, the son of Elvis Grant, because Elvis Grant, the guy that makes Grant boxing gloves, he's Cletus Selden's manager, and I had a conversation with Elliot Grant that night that he popped, actually, believe it or not. So, yeah, I mean, there's plenty of guys out there. I'm really curious to see who emerges from all this, because even though I'm shitting on it, even though I'm saying, this is minor league boxing, there are still guys that I do think are going to benefit from Zuffa boxing. And there are going to be guys that emerge that do have their stock shoot through the roof. So we'll see. But right now, as far as the matchups they have, it's not encouraging. It looks pretty bad, actually. Alexander Gavazic versus Hot Rod is a fight Zuffa boxing is rumored to make for January, and that matchup is a good little fight, I'll say, but nothing mind-blowing as well. I like that fight. That's a good fight. Former world champion versus a former world title challenger. Two good fights. I'm okay with that. If they can do fights like that, I'm okay with that. But see, to me, I feel like Zuffa boxing is trying to reinvent the wheel. They're trying to sell us chicken shit and say it's chicken salad. Pro Box TV. That's a Pro Box TV matchup, and no disrespect to Pro Box TV. I love Pro Box TV. I love Daniel Rubin and all the staff there. And I mean, I have friends in the fight game that I'm trying to get fights on Pro Box TV, but like Pro Box TV is not posturing themselves as this big juggernaut, multi-billion-dollar conglomerate. Their slogan is good fighters in great fights. We don't promote boxers, we promote boxing, right? So they're going to give you guys good competitive fights. It's going to be with guys that don't have the biggest names, but they're going to deliver on that matchmaking. So you can't really criticize in the way you could criticize Zuffa boxing, because Zuffa boxing is backed by very, very powerful influence people that are saying that they're going to build this sport into something that's never been before. They're selling us a dream the way PBC did back in the day, the way Matchroom Boxing did back in the day with his own, and nothing is new under the sun. Triller, even for a time 5 years ago, like nothing is new under the sun. Shout out to my main man, 50 grand, the Dundada of boxing media. It is the Zettel True School Zettel era. Who gives a damn how you order it? But shout out to my guy, Sean Zettel. He says, LOL at Unc and not a YN. True School is going from Matias in Brooklyn to Puerto Rico for Xander. You're going back to your roots. I went to Cambosis versus Maxie Hughes in Oklahoma City. And yes, Sean, I'm blessed. I'm so happy that this is probably the deepest I've ever been into like Puerto Rican boxing. I'm going to the Matias fight now. Now Xander at the end of the month, so that'll be a lot of fun. I've never been to Puerto Rico before. As many of you know, my dad is Puerto Rican, which makes me Puerto Rican. I never had a chance to go, and the one time I was supposed to go was during the pandemic, and then COVID happened, and I haven't had any reason to go because I was supposed to go with my uncle around that time, and we haven't gone. So I'm really excited. It's a real special trip to go to. Oh yeah, I haven't even mentioned it, but yeah, I will be covering the Sean broke the news. I didn't even say that earlier in the live, but I will be at the Xander Zayas Abbas Barrow fight in Puerto Rico. I did get the email from the fine folks at Top Rank today. So you're gonna be in San Juan at the Zayas Barrow fight. Hit your boy up, say what's up. A lot of people in Brooklyn, the Brits and the Puerto Ricans, came up to me and showed me a lot of love, and it was really fun meeting a lot of the people. So continue to do that when we go to Puerto Rico for sure. Sean said, Zuffa for life, fuck the haters. That's right. Zuffa for life. Just for shits and giggles, I should get like a Zuffa boxing. I might get a Zuffa boxing logo right here, just for fun. But yeah, right now they're really trying to sell us piss as Cabernet Sauvignon wine. Like I can't believe that they said that Dana White told us with a straight face, we're gonna build boxing back up to something that's never been before. And the first fight he gives us is the guy that got knocked out in one round by Earl Spence versus Callum Walsh. I mean, but that might just be, honestly, that matchup, that might just be them protecting Callum Walsh because they love Callum Walsh. Like, I've been following Callum Walsh for a little bit of time now, probably for like 2 or 3 years. They love Callum Walsh. Like, I watched about a year and a half ago, I watched the card when Callum Walsh fought in Ireland, and it was on UFC Fight Pass. And so I know that they're not going to put him in with anybody that they feel is too tough. And like I said, I don't consider Fernando Vargas Jr. a top 35 or 40, 154 pounder in the world. And I didn't really see levels, as the Brits would say. I didn't see levels between Walsh and Vargas. And I was expecting to see some levels between Walsh and Vargas based on how they propped up Callum Walsh. I knew it would be a good fight because I've seen a little bit of Vargas and I've seen Callum Walsh. I know Callum Walsh isn't as good as they say he is, but they're protecting a guy. They're protecting him. And if you're protecting him, he's supposed to show levels, and he ain't showing them levels. That's it. My man said, you got to go. Okay, I'm going to go. I'm going to go to those spots. Text me those places. I'll go. Yeah, you. My man said, Callum Walsh is the best fighter since Jack Dempsey. Yeah, Callum Walsh. Oh man, I think Callum Walsh is a loss waiting to happen. And it kind of sucks that Zuffa boxing is gonna divide the sport, because I really felt when I first learned about Callum Walsh's whole career, I really felt like Callum Walsh's destiny was to be an opponent for Xander Zayas at the Garden in the theater. You know, New York City has a big Puerto Rican population, as many of you guys know. It has a big Irish population. So I was like, okay, he's at 54. Xander's at 54. He's ranked. Xander's a champion. You know, that's going to be a fight to make in the future. But no, he's going to be the Canelo of Zuffa boxing. So we'll see how it goes. But anyway, pivoting to my next point, I don't want to keep talking about Zuffa. I want to actually kind of pull it back a bit. I want to go back to this past weekend out in New York City. You know, I want to talk a bit more Dalton Smith. You know, I want to give the man, because I'm gonna go back to when this live is done. I'm gonna download this whole out of my computer. And I'm gonna clip all these segments, and they're all gonna be videos. And I'm gonna spread out over time. But Dalton Smith, he went against Super Matias, one of boxing's most vicious volume punchers, one of the most, you know, people like to downplay him and say he's overrated, but a lot of guys didn't want to fight him, right? And he went in there and he stopped him in 6 rounds. He did to him what nobody's ever done. And really, what I feel like is that even though there was a lot of people in Puerto Rico or New York City, I should say, a lot of people in the UK have been put on notice. Furthermore, a lot of people in the box world have been put on notice. And he's from Sheffield. He's from a tradition-rich part of the UK, the same place that produced, you know, great talents like Prince Nassim Ahmed, Johnny Nelson, Kell Brook, and just so many amazing fighters over the years. They're gonna get behind Dalton Smith. He's going to be a legitimate ticket seller in the UK. He's gonna fight in stadiums and things of that nature. So I'm happy for him. But when you look at him, right, he's got a lot of potential options for him, and I wanted to go through some of those options because I didn't get a chance to really touch on these things in the midst of me uploading all my content during 5 weeks. So I'll touch on it now in life after Matias for Dalton Smith. So for those that know, for those that don't know, before Subriel Matias fought Alberto Puello, there was a rematch clause already in the contract. Matias beat Puello to become the champion. Matias wound up fighting Dalton Smith. Puello still had that rematch clause in the, he's the mandatory challenger, right? He's the guy. And a lot of people, depending on who you talk to, feel like Puello beat Matias. So Puello sounded off on this after the fight, and he stated the following, and I quote, "Congratulations to Dalton Smith on his recent victory. You are a true champion, and now it is my turn to fight." And to that I say, that's a very difficult fight for anyone at 140. Puello, he's very good at keeping things nice and long and professional on the outside. He can counter punch. He's got respectable pop. He's a former champion himself. He's a very good fighter, Now, me personally, I thought Puello lost to Sandor Martin. I thought Sandor Martin should have been the WBC champion, but that's neither here nor there. He is currently the mandatory challenger, and they may have to pay him some step aside money to forego that fight. And if they take that fight, that's a fight that Dalton Smith can lose, because unlike Matias, who brings the fight right to you and puts the numbers together, Puello is going to keep things nice and professional on the outside. He's going to slow the pace down. You make a mistake, he's going to sharpshoot down the middle. That's a tough fight for anyone at 140. So you have that option. I don't love the fight, but I don't hate it either. It's a good little fight. Okay. The fight that I feel could become one of the biggest in this division is a fight that was talked about even before he fought Matias, or even his last fight against Matthew Germain. That would be Dalton Smith versus Adam Azim. Now, a lot of people accuse Dalton Smith of ducking Adam Azim because they felt like that fight probably could have and should have happened before he fought for the world title. But Eddie Hearn and Ben Shalom had a different roadmap for each fighter, and so Smith has done his job. He's become champion, and Adam Azim reacted to that, and he said the following, and I quote, "Hats off to Dalton Smith. A unification fight would be a massive, massive show. He's got a world title. Now I need to build my name up. Once I've got a world title, we can start talking." So there you go. So I don't know if it's this weekend or next weekend, but I know it's sometime this month. Adam Azim is fighting Gustavo Lemos, which is, to me, a good step up in class for him. Lemos has fought, Hitchens. He's fought Keyshawn Davis. So it's a chance for Adam Azim to measure himself up against some of the biggest names in and around his weight class. And if he can go on, there and make a true statement against a guy like Lemos, then it puts him that much closer to a world title. And by the way, I don't think Hitchens is going to stay at 140 much longer. I think Hitchens winds up actually probably vacating that belt because he can't make the weight. And you might see Adam Azim probably fight for the vacant IBF title or something like that. And I think, if Dalton Smith and Adam Azim are to unify, it's going to be a WBC IBF unification fight. That's my early prediction on the matter. Adam Azim has been one of the most overhyped British talents in recent years. I'm not going to say he's overrated or underrated yet. I think he's done what he's needed to do so far at this point in his career. I remember 4 years ago in 2022, I actually met Adam Azim and interviewed him at Mundo Boxing Gym down in Miami. And I had a chance to kind of get a feel for his mentality to boxing. And he got some American sparring. He's a good fighter. He's very explosive mid-range, very classy fighter on the outside. But like Dalton Smith is those things too. So I think their styles are going to mesh very, very well when and if they fight. But yeah, we don't even know if he's really on that level yet. He has to actually prove himself, and Lemos can punch. So we'll see. We'll see if Adam Azim is truly good enough to even to deserve a Dalton Smith fight. Let's be honest about it. And then last but not least, you got Hitchens, right? Now Hitchens, in the midst of his rant with Devin Haney, he went ahead and he said pretty much, look, like he told Devin Haney, and I quote as it loads on the screen, "I want to fight you, Devin Haney. Fuck Dalton Smith." So Hitchens isn't even really entertaining a Dalton Smith fight. So when you talk about Dalton Smith, I really see it as only a handful of fights that could happen. You got Adam Azim, if he gets a belt, or if Dalton wants to give him a shot. You got Puello, or you got the Shakur Tia winner, which I think would be interesting because, neither Tio nor Shakur, none like they're great fighters. We know Tio and Shakur are both great fighters. We also know they're both Matchroom Boxing fighters, and Matchroom Boxing is a British company, and we know that Sheffield will come out and support Dalton Smith. So I don't know. Maybe the winner of that fight, maybe they go to England. Maybe that becomes fight to make. But either way, look, the new star of British boxing has arrived. All respect to guys like Nick Ball and Jazz Dickens and these kind of guys. But really and truthfully, this is the best moment British boxing has had in a long time. This was a truly star-making performance. And I've made videos about Dalton Smith. Like I've covered his career for the last couple of years here on True School Sports when he's had fights coming up and things like that. But I'm excited about Dalton Smith. He got me fired up about his career. So I'm really intrigued to see what happens. In a perfect world, I would love to see the Matias rematch, just because I feel like I haven't made a big deal about it, honestly. I really haven't. But I do think that the stoppage was terrible. I thought it was a terrible stoppage. Dalton Smith caught Matias with a perfect shot right here on the ear, and that's why he hit the canvas the way he did and got up in the most unsteady fashion possible. But like I said, in a championship fight, you want to give a guy the opportunity to continue the champion to go out on his shield, and he wasn't really given that benefit of the doubt as a champion. So, I mean, if they wanted to run it back in the UK, I'd like to see Matias go to the UK, because the first style was really fun, but I don't think they're going to do that because there's no need to. Matias is not a big name. You don't really get anything from beating him again, even if you have a better performance. So I think they're going to go look to explore other avenues. But yeah, the new star of British boxing is here. And as far as Matias, just to touch on Matias a bit, and let's go to the rankings right quick. Let's go to the rankings, because I do want to touch on Matias. I know we did a whole live about it, but it was after the fight. Those are kind of like, I wasn't emotional about it, but it's better when you talk about these things when you have a couple of days to kind of digest what really happened, right? I'm really intrigued to see if Matias is gonna have a chance to become a 3-time world champion. I know his style doesn't age well. He got beat up by Dalton Smith. But it was only 6 rounds, right? So he took punishment, but it wasn't like a 10-round level of punishment. It was only 6 rounds. So let me see. Is he ranked anywhere? Where's Matias ranked? This man's not even ranked. Is he ranked? They haven't ranked him yet. So I think when the rankings update, he'll get ranked. And I think in the next year or two, Hitchens will go up. You're gonna see guys like Tio or not Shakur if he wins, but like Tio will move up. I think Hitchens will move up. And we'll see. I think Matias' best bet at this point is if one of these belts go vacant and he can fight for the world title. Because when you look at his career, when we look at Matias' career, all the wars he had, Dalton Smith, Jukumbayev, Malik Hawkins, Puello was even kind of a hellacious fight. Ergashev, for as long as it lasted, was a hellacious fight. Dadashev was he's had like 6 or 7 wars already. So that style traditionally doesn't age well. I think he's gonna have to, not reinvent the wheel and change his style, but he's gonna have to probably get a trainer, just like Norman. Get a trainer that can show him some different ways to tweak things, And personally, I know he lost. I believe it was after the Paro fight, or it might have been. I can't remember if it was before or after. You guys can tell me in the comments. But I really like to see Matias go back to Panda, his previous coach, because I feel like that's when he was his best. That's when he was doing his thing. But we'll see how it goes. I wish Matias nothing but the best, because I like him, and I think he's been a guy that's earned everything he's got in boxing. He's fought 8 undefeated fighters in his career. He's 6-2 against those 8 undefeated fighters. He's fought 8 undefeated fighters in his last 13 fights, and he's always been willing, ready, and able to fight the best available competition to him. And I can't fault the guy who's doing that and also doing it in a fashion that's exciting. I can't do that. Now, is he limited? Yes. Is he? Could you say he's a little overrated if you want to? Sure. But one thing you can't say is that he's not no challenge. He's still a threat to anybody in the division. Anyway, let me scroll up. Let me scroll up. Because I know I missed some comments. My man said, "What about the Sean Tatel says? What about the Pitbull fight for Dalton instead, bro? And it's not just Callum Walsh and Carlos Campbell, but it's a good ass fight." I talked about that the night of the fight. I know Pitbull is the interim champion, so he is the mandatory, basically. I don't know if PBC would do that fight, Sean. What do you think? Do you think PBC does that fight? I mean, to me, it's a very marketable fight. You have the Dalton Smith, who just had a great fight, fight of the year candidate with Matias. He's the UK boxing's new fresh star, and Pitbull Cruz is a Mexican. And we sat next to each other, press row, Sean, in San Antonio. He fought Lamont Roach, who I love Lamont Roach, but he's not a draw on the West Coast, and they sold 10,000 plus tickets in San Antonio. So we know Pitbull Cruz can draw. We know Smith's going to get a lot more love and attention now that he came to America, became champion. I love that fight. In fact, Sean, I'll say this. If I could get a fight, if I could be the commissioner of boxing, I'm saying forget Puello, forget even a Matias rematch, forget Hitchens, forget Gary, forget the T.O. Shakur winner. Give me that fight. I like that fight. I think that fight does very good business. It's UK versus England, which we always know sells in boxing. And I think style-wise, their styles are going to mesh very, very well. Dalton has shown you guys that he can fight in the pocket if need be and be a dog. But he's also a very, very good mid-range fighter. Pitbull Cruz, very short, but he turns what's perceived to be a disadvantage into a big advantage, and he gets underneath shots very, very well, come out that high guard. So I'm for it. That's the fight we should do. You know, my man say Callum Walsh is better than Dalton Smith. Yo, BT, what's up? What tournament is Jen supposed to do? You briefly talked about it in the beginning of the stream. I don't know. I don't know, Jan. People keep talking to me that Jin Sasaki is supposed to be going to be in this welterweight tournament. I don't know anything about that. I just know he's fighting in February at Cork and Hall. I had a guy text me on my Google Voice number asking me about that. I don't know anything about the tournament, so I have to look into it. If you don't know about the tournament, that's bad news because you train at the Hachiochi Nikaya Boxing. You part of the team, so I don't know anything about the tournament, to be honest with you, but people keep asking me about it. So I was just I was answering a comment. I don't personally know anything about it. I just know he's fighting in February. Brendan, this is enough about Dalton Smith and world champions. More Callum. Yeah, you know what? Forget this. Because, guys, well, me and Sean have realized, we come to the realization that like being a world champion, that's such a trivial, like that's so old school. Like, who cares about these alphabet belts? Remember, like the biggest fight on 154 is between two guys that don't have a belt. So belts are overrated, they're meaningless. Two things can be true. We know Boots and Virgil are two of the most skillful fighters in the division, maybe the two most skillful. But they're not world champions, and it's the biggest fight in the division. So what does that tell you? It tells you that belts don't matter. Look, guys, you see this credential right here? You see this beautiful credential right here? These two guys, Tank and Ryan, they didn't fight for a title that night. And did we care as boxing fans? No, we didn't, because boxing now is about clout. So yeah, you know what? Forget Dalton Smith. All right. There's a reason why there was only 2,000 people maybe at that fight, because it doesn't matter. But guess what? When Callum Walsh fights, there's going to be a bunch of drunk Irishmen in the crowd celebrating and witnessing the greatness of this explosive, electric, dangerous southpaw Irish power puncher. So yeah, Carlos Ocampo, strong Mexican man. UFC. Oh my God. Dana White and UFC are gonna oversell that fight so much. They're gonna go crazy with the video packages and the promos and things like that. Sean says Callum Walsh against Terry Norris at 154. Callum Walsh versus Trinidad at 154. Callum Walsh versus Wiki Wright at 154. Callum Walsh. He wants to know my fantasy picks. Sean wants to know. I mean, those guys are all good. I mean, I don't know, man. Felix Trinidad, I never fought nobody as good as Callum Walsh. You know, I mean, yeah, sure. Bernard Hopkins was good, but I mean, was he a southpaw? Was he strong like? No, he wasn't strong like Callum Walsh. Like, no. I think I'm gonna go Callum Walsh against the field. Those guys were all good in their day, but like, things get better over time. Like, these athletes now have evolved, and with the upgrades in nutrition and and medicine and these kind of things, Callum Walsh is too much for him. I'm taking Callum Walsh against the field. PBC is doing the fight in Matchroom USA doing Smith Pitbull. Nah, maybe if the WBC did the job mandated, but they won't. I love you, bro. Peace. I'm just waiting for your fantasy picks. Yeah, that you're right, Sean. The WBC is not going to mandate Pitbull versus Dalton Smith. I would rather just talk about Callum Walsh. That's all that matters. Because the reality is this. Like, Boots and Ortiz is good, but you got to remember, like, Boots and Ortiz and Callum Walsh, they have the same amount of world titles, 154. So, therefore, right now, they're on the same playing field. And really, you could argue that Callum Walsh might be ahead of those guys because, Boots and Ortiz, they're good, but they don't have a country behind them. Like, what did Floyd used to say? Marquez and Pacquiao, they got a country behind them. A country. You're right? Callum Walsh has a country behind them. He's got a bunch of drunk Irishmen that are willing to pay tickets to watch him fight. So, therefore, I'm taking Callum Walsh against the field. I'm taking Callum Walsh against Trinidad. I'm taking Callum Walsh against Bernard Hopkins. I'm taking Callum Walsh against Jamel Charlo in his prime. They're not fucking with Callum Walsh. Quiet as kept. I'm going to run and tell them that. Watch UFC use this as part of the video package for Callum Walsh. My man said, you would rather support a clown like Jake Paul than a legit puncher in Callum Walsh. I never supported Jake Paul. Well, I didn't talk about Jake Paul and Joshua until like a week after the fight. And then when I did, it wasn't even about the fight. It was about Anthony Joshua's newfound star power in boxing. In America, at least, because a bunch of women, when he beat Jake Paul, a bunch of women in America who don't fucking watch boxing discovered who Anthony Joshua was, and they lost their minds. So I did a video and tie that into why they should capitalize on it, on him fighting Deontay Wilder, but he might not box again. Yeah, man. Listen. Callum Walsh should go up to 175 and beat up on Artur Beterbiev. That's how good he is, man. He's boxing's future pound for pound number one. King Callum Walsh. All hail the king. That's what I'm saying. Like, and what do they all say, Sean? Everyone says the same thing. Miguel Cotto was a great fighter, but he lost a lot of his big fights. So why would it change when he fights Callum Walsh? Guys, by the way, don't take me serious. We're joking. Like, one thing I don't want you guys to do is if in 9 days, if Callum Walsh gets beat up by Ocampo or if he loses a fight a year from now, I don't want you guys to say, oh, BT, I remember you said that Callum Walsh would, like, guys, I don't actually think Callum Walsh is that good. We're trolling just to put it out there, because sometimes people think I'm being serious. 15 tried and 15 failed. That's what I'm saying. 15 tried, 15 failed. And guess what? One of them was Fernando Vargas Jr., who is the son of a legend. So really, you could already say he beat the dad because he beat the son. I mean, it's the same thing, right? So, shit. Anyway, guys, let me see. Where am I at talking points? Well, I got two more. So I got two more talking points, and then I got a couple comments, and then we got like an hour left because I told you guys, I promised you guys 3 hours. We're almost at a 2-hour mark. Make sure you smash that like button, subscribe, super chat, all that blase. I'm going to have to clip a lot of things from this live because y'all are giving me great comments and great feedback and a lot of great moments in this live. So definitely have a lot of things to clip. But yeah, let me go to these comments. I got like two that I missed. My man right here said, did you see that Kai Watanabe was going to fight Kiyu Nusugi Kameda, but Kameda pulled out? I heard about it briefly. I thought it was a good fight. You know, Kyle Watanabe has he lost a couple fights, and he was I wouldn't say a big prospect, but he was a prospect that people thought would be a little further along than he is now in his career in Japan at 130. That would have been a good fight for him because Kameda has fought, he fought Picasso, fought a couple other guys. So hopefully they can reschedule that fight. And I'll be rooting for Kyle Watanabe to get it done because I like him. He's a good fighter. I had a chance to watch him train and go to his gym back in 2024 at the Lions boxing gym in Tokyo. But yeah, he's got a lot of things he got to work on. His style is too rigid, but I think that's a winnable fight. It's a good fight. They can get it done. Canelo has a great chin. He sees the final belt, but unlike Laura Walsh, is a 154-pounder who closes the show and gets a win. That's what I'm saying. Like, you had Laura conning his way through the fight, and then everyone wanted to scream Bloody Mary. He got a robber. No, he didn't do enough. And one thing about Callum Walsh, as we saw in the Fernando Vargas Jr. fight, one thing about him, he's going to close strong, like he's done his whole career, and like he's going to do come January 23rd when he fights in your neck of the woods, Sean, at the Apex in Vegas. So I'll leave it at that. But guys, on a more serious note, pivoting into our last two talking points, you guys, man, I want to eat. I don't know. I want to talk about it, so we'll talk about it. My main man, 50 grand, Philip Hrgović. He's been a bit quiet, following what his last fight was against, I think, was David Adelaide. He beat Joe Joyce, then he beat David Adelaide. So yeah, he hasn't really been on social media a lot since that David Adelaide fight. It was a fun fight. He scored a knockdown. He almost got knocked out. And so he's been really quiet, just enjoying his time with his family. He hasn't became what I thought he'd become in boxing. Yeah, he probably never will. I'm coming to grips with the fact that he's not as good as I thought he was, maybe, but he still wants to test himself. One thing about Hrgović is he's always been free smoke. He's always been willing, ready, and able to fight the best guys. And that trend will continue heading into 2026 because he's called out a couple guys. So I'm going to play you guys the clip, and then we will dissect from there. Here's what Philip Hrgović said about his plans in 2026.
I hope so. I'll be in the ring soon. There are a few very good options. The best option for me would be to face Fabio Varley for WBO belt, and I hope so that happen next, but he got voluntary defense, so we'll see who he gonna choose. Also, I would like to face Agit Kabayel in Germany. It will be a great fight, big fight. He got big following here, and there's a lot of Croatians in Germany, so it will be a great fight. Also, there's option to face Daniel Dubois in a rematch. Everyone knows that I was sick and injured before that fight, so I wasn't at my best level. So I would welcome that fight as well. We'll see what happens in the next few weeks, but I'm always open for all good fights.
So there you have it. Philip Hrgović is calling out the biggest and best names in the division. And, look, people are giving Usyk a lot of flack for not wanting to fight Agit Kabayel. I don't think Usyk will ever fight Agit Kabayel. He's one of the most murderous and vicious body punchers in the entire sport. You see Usyk, he's trying to fight Deontay Wilder, who really is past it. He's not getting criticized for it because, he don't really speak English, and people just don't really think about Usyk unless he's fighting. So he's getting a pass for it. Maybe if Wilder does look as shot to pieces as a lot of people think he is, maybe Usyk will get criticized for it later on. But Kabayel is one of those guys that he should be fighting. But Usyk probably doesn't fight Kabayel. I like the fight with Hrgović and Kabayel. I thought that's a really good fight. Right now, I favor Kabayel, but again, Hrgović is throughout the duration of his career, he's always been free smoke. He's always been willing, ready, and able to fight the best guys. He mentioned Fabio Warley, a guy that I think would have a pretty good hand speed advantage against them. Probably one of the biggest punchers in the division. Not probably, he is one of the biggest punchers in the division. He just stopped Joseph Parker, and right now he is the current WBO champion. Hrgović would have got a world title shot against Anthony Joshua, or he would have actually been world champion. He would have got elevated if he would have beat Daniel Dubois. But unfortunately, he didn't beat Daniel Dubois. Daniel Dubois beat him. He got elevated. He became champion. He fought Joshua. So naturally, Hrgovic wants the Dubois rematch, which I want to see because Dubois, he's now he got beat up pretty bad by Usyk in their rematch. He got rid of Don Charles, which I thought was retarded. I thought him getting rid of Don Charles was one of the stupidest things he could possibly do because Don Charles was able to elevate Dubois mentally. Physically, he always had all the tools, but mentally, Don Charles was able to get the best tune out of Daniel Dubois. So look, I'm cool with either one of them 3 fights. I feel like Hrgovic should get one of those 3 fights. Going back to screen share, he should get one of those 3 fights because if you look at the landscape of the division, as far as the WBO and fighting Woodley, Moses Itama had a fight scheduled with Jermaine Franklin, and no matter what anybody thinks about Moses Itama is a guy that Ben Davison and all parties involved on that side, they're not rushing him as much as the boxing world wants to rush him. They were adamant, like well in advance, like before the Dillian White fight even ended, they were already talking about fighting Jermaine Franklin because they felt like he was a guy that could give them rounds and help season Moses more as a professional fighter. Then Jermaine Franklin actually wound up upsetting Ivan Ditchko, who was an undefeated, Olympian, good heavyweight. So it actually gave him a reason to fight Franklin, even though a lot of people thought Franklin lost that fight and he didn't look good. That fight got scrapped. So right now, Moses has to figure out what the next step for his career is. So I think right now there is a pathway for Hrgovic to fight Fabio Woodley. As far as Caballero, Caballero is the interim WBC champion, so he is technically Usyk's mandatory. So if he can't get the Usyk fight, maybe he fights Lawrence Okoli, who's been calling him out. But like, who wants to see Lawrence Okoli fight Caballero? Lawrence Okoli has an ugly style. You understand? Dubois 2 in the WBC. I don't know, man. I think Hrgovic should get one of these fights. I think this year is going to be his ultimate do or die year. This is the year, and you guys know I'm like the president of the Philip Hrgovic American fan club, member of one. I've always thought highly of him. I've seen him in the gym plenty of times. I know for a fact it's not my thought. It's not my It's not something that I know for a fact that the guy that I've seen in the gym has not been the guy I've seen on Fight Night. And I told you guys this a number of times. I feel like the reason why Hrgovic never quite looks the way he never looks like the fighter I see in the gym when he fights, because I think he overtrains himself. I think that's a habit that he's developed over the years, and it shows itself on Fight Night quite a lot. So we'll see how it goes. I would say, even though he would probably go in as the underdog in probably all those fights against Caballero, against Dubois in the rematch, and against Woodley, I think he can still win those fights. I think if the best Philip Hrgovic shows up or anything close to it, that guy is still a problem for the heavyweight division. Because if you look at it, right, Philip Hrgovic, we all know when you talk about the fight game in the heavyweight division, heavyweights don't mature the same way fighters other weight classes do. They tend to have some of the best years in boxing in their mid-30s. So where is Hrgovic now? Hrgovic is now 33 years old. He's got 20 fights in the pro ranks. He's been the ups and the downs. He's experiences guys ducking him as the mandatory, losing a fight, being in some close fights and finding a way to win. Quiet as kept. Like I said, I've said it many times, I'll say it again. I feel like I actually feel like Hrgovic has one of the better resumes in the heavyweight division. He fought Zhang when guys weren't trying to fight Zhang, beat him in a close fight, lost to Dubois. Hrgovic mentioned being sick for that fight or whatever. Now, I don't know if he was sick. I won't speak much on him being sick. I know a lot of the Croatian papers have talked about him being sick and things like that. So I won't speak much on that because I don't really know about that. But what I can tell you is, I know for a fact one of the things that may have played a factor as to why Hrgovic wasn't better in that fight was the fact that his wife was pregnant during that camp. And I remember and the reason I know this is because I was in Miami and I interviewed Hrgovic while she was pregnant. She was in the gym and she was pregnant. And so we all know that when a child is being born, that can affect anybody's life, And I remember my dad, shout out to Pops. My dad had bought some stuff for the baby and things like that. Because Pops is the man. But that being said, Philip Hergovich, I think that played more of a role than him being sick. Being honest, in my opinion, no excuse. He lost the fight. He wasn't good enough that night, and it is what it is. But Dubois has now lost to Usyk, so now him and Hergovich on the same level. He's coming off of a loss. Hergovich coming off 2 wins. They're both ranked in and around of each other. They're both trying to get back to the top of the division. Why not do a rematch? Because I feel like personally, if Hergovich, if there was a more fair ref that would have policed some of the dirty tactics of Dubois, I think Hergovich would have beat Dubois that night, honestly. But that's just me. And then he fought Joe Joyce on short notice, and then he fought Dave Adelaide. He's got a good resume. So hopefully Hergovich can get one of these fights, because it's been a pain in the ass in his career of getting these guys to fight him. People like to say that certain fighters aren't the boogeyman, but when truckloads of fighters continuously turn you down and don't fight you and go the other way, I mean, what else do you call a fighter, you know? So I'm cool with any one of those fights. If Hergovich can beat any one of those 3, that right there would change, in my opinion, the trajectory of his career. You know, Caballel right now is looked at to probably be the best heavyweight who's not a champion right now. Wardley just beat Joseph Parker in one of the best fights you'll ever see, and he's now a champion. And then Dubois already has one against Hergovich, so you beat him. Now you avenge that loss. Now, you know, that puts you kind of, it wipes your record clean. So yeah, really interesting fights. Which fights do you guys want to see out of those 3? If I have my pick, I would like to see Philip Hergovich fight Ajit Caballel. I like the idea of Hergovich going to Germany. Even though I know people were very critical of the Caballel stoppage on Damian Kimba over the weekend, and they may feel like, you know, any fighter who goes to Germany will be on the wrong side of corruption, and it's very possible. I'm pretty sure that's very possible. Hergovich cuts easily. They might wait the fight off if Hergovich gets cut. You know, it's possible. But from a just purely technical standpoint, Caballel is one of boxing's most murderous body punchers. Philip Hergovich is probably one of the most durable fighters in the division in terms of his chin and things like that. And he can box. He has a very long, lengthy amateur pedigree. He's got one of the best right hands in the division in terms of accuracy. And I still don't think like he's fought his best fight. And I think a guy like Caballel would bring the best Philip Hergovich to the table. And I think the best Philip Hergovich on the night could possibly be the guy like Caballel, no matter how good Caballel looks right now. Anyway, shout out to everybody here. I got some comments. I missed quite a few. My man says Hergovich should fight Jarrell Miller. That's a good fight. I know they sparred. A couple of times down in South Florida. So they know each other. And Miller's up and down. It really all depends on like Jarrell Miller's condition. When he's in shape and he's putting them punches together, he's very difficult to beat. But when he's 300 pounds and he's Jabba the Hutt, like he can only do but so much. As the guy who gets coffee at the Philip Hergovich fan club, I got him becoming world champion by the power of friendship. I hope so, man. I hope so. Listen, there's probably like 5 fighters in boxing that haven't won a world title yet. That would I would genuinely probably shed a tear if they won a world title. Philip Hergovich, Ian Green, Yugo Osaki, Eric Lanzis Jr. Like people I know, you know, I love to see it because I know what he's gone through in his career, but it's going to be a very, very tough battle. There's a lot of really tough opponents at heavyweight right now. BT, Kai Watanabe Kameda was supposed to fight in the tournament, but Kameda pulled out. Kai still wants to fight on the 19th if he wins, and Ryogo will fight our guy. Oh, shit, okay. So Lions Boxing Gym versus the Hachiochi Nakaya Boxing Gym. I like that. I'm still standing on business that Hergovich got job versus Dubois. Dubois headbutted Hergovich to cause the cut, and they called it a punch. I agree. I feel like he got job too. I feel like I said, I stand by it. The best Philip Hergovich on the night is a problem for any heavyweight. It's just I don't know if I'm ever going to see him. I really don't. It really gets. I'm not around him all the time, or as much these days, but I just know that Hergovich is one of those guys that he loves to be in the gym. He loves to train. And sometimes it's too much. He's one of them guys you got to really pull back. My man said, when are you going to cover Pakistan boxing? Shit, probably soon, because my man Chris Glover is doing shows out there. I actually got invited to go to Pakistan. I don't know if I really want to go to Pakistan, to be honest with you, but I got invited to go out there. I feel like Hrgovic should trainers. He's not looking bad, but I don't think he's looking good enough for the elites. How does Eddie Reynoso training him? I like that. He's not with Eddie Reynoso. He's with Abel Sanchez. And Eddie Reynoso can't train no heavyweights. He's not a heavyweight trainer. Not every top elite trainer can train a heavyweight. I learned that many years ago from Stacey McKinley. That's one thing he taught me about boxing, is that not every trainer is built to train a heavyweight fighter, because heavyweight boxing is damn near a different sport than the rest of boxing. Like in the heavyweight division, fighters mature slower. There's that one punch factor in the division. Always with every fighter, no matter how pillow fisted you may think a fighter is, they're still heavyweights. And the psychology of heavyweight boxing is just different. And a lot of trainers don't understand that. You understand? So Eddie Reynoso ain't no heavyweight trainer. Hell no. Harold says Philip Hrgovic needs to avenge that Brandon Moore sparring session. Well, sparring sessions are not fights, and Brandon Moore needs to worry about Richard Torres Jr. He's not on that level yet, respectfully. And I like Brandon Moore. He's a good little fighter, but he's not on that level. And you know what, guys? My last talking point, and Harold, you came in at the right time. You came in at the right time, Harold, because now I'm gonna give you what you want, champ. I'm gonna give you what you came for. And then after we get to this one, it'll be like 25 to 30 minutes of just whatever y'all want, talking about whatever y'all want. But apparently, there's this rumor floating around that Tim Tszyu and Errol Spence are going to fight each other. Now, this is very interesting because, of course, we haven't seen Errol Spence in years since Terrence Crawford beat the brakes off of him. It's been a long time since we've seen Errol Spence Jr. Under the lights in that square circle, showcasing his skills to the boxing fans. And it will be really interesting to see how he could come back from the loss, because that's my thing with Errol Spence. Everyone talks about him being a Hall of Famer, but I feel like part of what makes a great fighter is it's not necessarily always winning, but how do you come back from a loss? And it's like Errol Spence hasn't even tried to come back from his loss. So to me, whether you like it or not, that kind of diminishes his greatness, because if you don't at least try to come back and, respond from the loss, you lost one time and you just dipped out of boxing. Like, come on, man. So I think Tim and Tim Tszyu is a cool fight. Tim is a guy just like Earl who has, he's lost. He got beat up by Bakram, got beat up by Fundora a couple of times. His stock ain't what it used to be. He's now training with Pedro Diaz. He just got a win recently over the kid Velasquez. So now, he's back to winning ways. And, I think, I don't know, like, where do you have that fight? Do you have that fight in Australia? Do you have that fight in America? Because I feel like, what is Errol Spence's value as a fighter? He hasn't fought in 3 years. And one thing we know about boxing and in this day and age with anything, no matter how popular you are, it's always out of sight, out of mind. He's been very much out of sight. And for the most part, he's been out of mind to a lot of people. So he doesn't have the same momentum that he had 3 years ago or 4 years ago or 5 years ago. And, it's an interesting fight, but I just, if they have it in the States, I have my concerns about how that fight would do from a commercial standpoint. But nonetheless, let's get into it. Errol Spence versus Tim Tszyu, because it's a rumor floating around. It's being talked about, and I'm not going to play the clips because the clips are from ProBox TV, and ProBox TV gave me a copyright strike back in October, and it was a 90-day copyright strike. So for like 90 days, I had this strike on my channel, which pissed me off. It just concluded 5 days ago, so I'm not going to play the clips. But basically, Robert Garcia confirmed the rumor. He's heard that rumor too. And then Paulie Malignaggi, who's in Australia right now doing commentary for this weekend's fight between Nikita Tszyu and Michael Zarafa, he also spoke on this rumor as well. So this rumor has been confirmed by multiple people in the fight game that Tim Tszyu and Errol Spence could be fighting each other next. Now, let's try to unpack this, because if you rewind time a couple years ago, Tim Tszyu and Errol Spence were two of the biggest names PBC had to offer. Three years ago, two of the biggest names PBC had to offer was Errol Spence and Tim Tszyu. If this fight would have got done in 2023, let's say if Errol doesn't fight Terrence Crawford and get beat up, and Errol and Tim fight each other in 2023, it would have been a massive fight in 2023. But we're not in 2023 anymore. We're in 2026. We're now more than halfway through this decade. You understand? And I really don't know what this fight would do. Like for Earl, it would get a name on his resume that's recognizable. It would it would get him back going against a big name. And Earl, to his credit, doesn't believe in tune-ups. And so you can say what you want about Tim Tszyu, but when you're a guy who hasn't fought in almost 3 years, to fight Tim Tszyu off a 3-year layoff, that is not a tune-up. That's a hard-ass fight. So if Earl were to go in there and defeat Tim Tszyu, I'd give him all the credit in the world. But like, okay, let's just say Earl beats Tim Tszyu. Then what does that do for what does that do for Earl next? Does he fight Fundora? Is that the natural progression? Because Earl versus Fundora, I mean, they were supposed to fight each other because remember, Earl got in the ring when Fundora beat Tim Tszyu after their first fight. So does PBC do that fight? Maybe. We've heard rumblings and we've heard it floated around out there as a rumor that maybe Earl Spence is going to fight Virgil Ortiz. Does this now get Earl Spence Jr. in a position to fight Virgil Ortiz? Because for those that may remember, Tim Tszyu had a contract to fight Virgil Ortiz on one of those turkey cards, and the fight didn't happen because I can't remember if it was Tim or Virgil who pulled out, but one of them pulled out, and it didn't happen. So I don't know. It's very PBC. It just sounds very PBC. Like it's two names, two guys that aren't what they used to be, but it's still an event that would probably do somewhat well, depending on where you put it. I think in Australia, now in America, I don't think it does. I have my questions about it. I have my concerns about how the event will do. But if they put this shit in Australia, it's going to do well. Tim Tszyu sells in Australia. Earl Spence is a known name in the fight game, all across the world, city to city, state to state, continent to continent. Why not? What do you guys think? What do the fine folks of the True School Sports Empire have to say about this fight? My man said Tim has had 6 fights since Earl Spence's last fight. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like even if Tim's getting his ass whipped in some of these fights and he's not firing on all cylinders, he's still fighting. He's active. So that could be a big advantage for a guy like Tim Tszyu going into the fight. I don't care if some people consider Tim washed. Tim would stop Earl Spence. It's weird because I really want to shit on the fight. I really do want to shit on the fight, but I kind of want to see it. Like if the rumor is true, I wouldn't mind seeing it because Tim isn't a world beater. Like he hasn't been showing himself to be this world beater. Like he's lost to Fundora a couple of times. He's lost to Spence, or not. He's lost to not Spence. He lost to Bakram. It's a high profile fight. My man said put it as the undercard of Tank. Yeah, possibly. That's possibly an option. My man Hyro is not liking it. I'm surprised that Hyro doesn't like this matchup because Hyro always likes these kind of matchups. He says, no, Tim needs to fight Keith Thurman. Well, I hear you, Hyro. They had a fight signed. I feel like Earl Spence needs to fight Keith Thurman. Truth be told, they should just do a round robin. Like have Tim fight. Like they should all just fight each other. Like really, because I don't want to see Earl in there with nobody, none of the top guys at 54. Like, I don't want to see him against Virgil. I don't want to see him against Boots. I don't want to see him against none of them guys. He's not on that. Like he's like his best days are behind him. I think he's grown content. He's lost more than a step because when you get beat up like he did against Crawford, and then when you live the way he used to live, that's what it is. Tim moved to 160. Earl fights at 147. Earl does not fight at 147 because when Earl was trying to fight Crawford in the rematch, they were trying to do it at 54. Now, as far as Tim fighting at 60, you're correct about that. He did, in fact, move to middleweight, so you're all right about that. Maybe Earl Spence wants to go to middleweight. Maybe PBC is like, you know what? We don't want you cutting all the way down to 54. And maybe he might fight at 60, or maybe they'll be in the middle. I don't know. They haven't really said much as far as weight classes or anything like that. It's just the only rumor is that they're gonna fight each other. Supposedly, it's being explored, and it's been confirmed by Paulie Malignaggi and Robert Garcia. Earl Spence is better than Andrade. I'll tell you, ain't nobody want to see Andrade fight. Earl Spence is not better than Andrade at all at anything. Like not. He may have a better resume, but he's not a more skillful fighter than Demetrius Andrade. Get the fuck out of here. I just found out that Kenshiro's dad was a boxer and fought Shinji Takahara, who'd go on to beat Jorge Castro in an upset, and is the inspiration for Takamura from Hajime no Ippo. Yeah, I met Kenshiro's dad. In fact, look, I'm gonna show you guys this. Look, so hold on, let me make sure my microphone's good. So look, this is one of my most prized possessions in the world right here. This is my Kenshiro Taraji banner. There's only like 2 or 3 of these in the world. Kenshiro Taraji gave this to me when I went to go visit him in his gym in Kyoto, Japan. And his dad actually handed me this banner when we were at the gym that day. His dad is tall. Kenshiro Taraji's dad, I don't know how Kenshiro Taraji is so small, because Kenshiro Taraji's dad is like 5'10" or 6. He's tall. He's not no small guy like Kenshiro is. Pause. That's all I'll say about that. Just pause. Earl Spence and Tony Harrison. See, you know what, Hyro? Let's camp out on that for a second, because Hyro is right. Tony Harrison's still fighting, guys. Tony Harrison is still fighting. He's still active, and Tony Harrison said pretty much because he fought on a recent Salida Promotions card. Tony Harrison said that he doesn't want to fight none of the YNs. He don't want to fight none of the young guys. He wants to fight the guys from his generation, and one of the guys from his generation is Earl Spence. And he did call out Earl Spence, so I'm cool with that fight. You know, he's been a champion. He's got pedigree. He's been more active than Earl, but he's not as active as Tim. And Tim knocked out Tony Harrison. So I feel like, you know what, Tony Harrison, Earl Spence, you throw that on a nice undercard, maybe a tank undercard or something like that. Then you might got something. I like that fight. Spence still has his Spence still naturally has his damage, and Tim versus Spence is war. If Spence and Tim still got something, it could be brutal for the other if one don't got it. Let Spence fight a veteran like himself. I'm with that. Like I'm really the fight I want. I'm thinking, like, I'm not, like, to be honest with you, I don't really care if Earl Spence comes back, but for the sake of talking, if he is to come back, I would rather him fight Tony Harrison. I like that fight better. Tony Harrison has got the same wear and tear, if not more, than Earl Spence. They kind of have the same experience level. They're both PBC. Tony Harrison does a whole lot of this and knows how to sell a fight. I feel like it would be a great promotion. He might bring out different sides of Earl's personality and get people really fired up about watching Earl Spence come back to the ring. I'm with that fight. That's the fight I want to see. But that is neither here nor there. Now, look, guys, it's taking 2 hours and 25 minutes. I done ran through the whole talking points, all 9 of them. So, look, we're at 2 hours and 26 minutes, which means we got roughly 34 minutes left. So, listen, for the next 34 minutes, y'all get whatever questions you want in about boxing or non-boxing. I know Hyro's probably going to ask some crazy shit now that I said that. But, yeah, make sure you smash that like button. Definitely subscribe, super chat. We're going to make it. I told you guys 3 hours. I'm going to give you 3 hours today. Let me go comment by comment. Bomo Gonzalez is saying he's going after Sandoval BT. Does he have a chance? I think he does have a chance because Sandoval is not a big puncher. Neither is Bomo Gonzalez. So I think that fight's all about, you know, who can get that lead for leverage. I'll give him a chance. I'm kind of honestly with those weight classes, I'm just frustrated about a lot of things because one of the best fighters from 108 to 115 is not getting his opportunities. And I'm really like, I'm happy about life. Like I'm grateful to God for like being able to cover these fights and the growth of true school sports. But I'm like, one of the only things that I'm really truly discouraged about in life is just this whole Yugo Osaki situation. Like I was in camp with him for 44 days in the Bay Area. There's no news on him. I haven't heard anything about him. We haven't talked since camp. He ain't really trying to talk to me no more. So I'm pissed off about that because I feel like he should be further ahead than he is, and I kind of feel like he's probably quitting on boxing. I don't know what's going on with him, but it don't look good because I saw a video where they had Oscar Collazo interviewing Dominic Gonzalez, and then I saw Olas Kuwaga in it, and then I saw Renee Santiago. Like I'm seeing all these guys, and then I'm seeing Sabala from All Star Boxing talk to all these guys, joking around, having fun at this WBO convention. And I'm sitting here and I'm thinking to myself, I said, man, Yugo Osaki could beat everybody in this fucking video. Everybody in that video, Yugo Osaki could beat them. The only guy that might have a chance to beat him is Anthony Olasquaga just because he's so damn big. But everyone else, they're getting cooked. And it's pissing me off because he's not really getting the shine that he deserves. And I just feel like there's nothing I can really do. I feel powerless. So, yeah, anyway, getting back to your point, Jonathan Baba Gonzalez versus Sandoval is a very good fight. I heard that Sandoval is fighting Galayo fight, but I'd rather see Bombo fight Sandoval instead. Yeah, Sandoval, yeah, because Galayo fight got beat up by what's his name, Francisco Rodriguez Jr., but then he tested positive, so they're gonna give him a shot because they feel bad for him because of what happened, and yeah, that's what it is. Is there any news on Johnny Beck's positive since he's requested the B sample unclaimed innocent? No, not yet. They were supposed to already have that revealed, but I haven't seen or heard anything yet. So I'm waiting just like you, Jan. What are your thoughts on Boxraw and their collabs with the biggest names? The latest collab was with Junto, nice, but the content they upload was incredible. The cardio video. I don't really have any crazy thoughts on Boxraw's collabs. I mean, I see them sometimes, but I mean, good for Junto and Boxraw to do a collab, I guess. What I can tell you is Junto Nakatani better tighten his shit up, or otherwise, Inoue's gonna fold him in like 7 rounds because he took a beating in that last fight from Sebastian Hernandez Reyes. I'm still giving him a chance, but I was always picking Inoue. I was telling you guys that I was viewing that fight as like a 55-45 fight, but now I got it now as a clear 60-40 fight for Inoue. I didn't like what I saw from Junto. First guy that really stood up to his power. You know, that's how you could you ran out. He ran out of ideas. Now, obviously, Inoue doesn't fight the same as Junto. Inoue has more of that explosive mid-range Japanese style. It's not the come forward, Mexican style, but still, I didn't like what I saw. Jin Sasaki versus Marlon Panala Mogan. Yes, that'll be next month down there at Corkin Hall. Good luck to Jin Sasaki. I'm very excited to see Jin Sasaki back in the ring. Definitely a personal favorite. Yeah, I want to see him get the win and definitely get back in the mix and at welterweight. I asked about the King of Boxing Usyk. What did you ask? I didn't see your comment. He said, should Usyk retire or should he just chase another bag? I feel like he should retire because he's trying to fight Deontay Wilder, who, for all intents and purposes, most people consider Deontay Wilder to be on the back nine, a shot fighter. He's got no criticism for it at all, which is crazy because any other fighter that would do that would get criticized to no end. I want to see Usyk fight Ajit Kabiel or Mosley Talma, and he doesn't really seem interested in either one of those guys. So at this rate, for me, I'm cool him retiring. I feel like he proved what he needed to prove. He's not really trying to fight the best no more. And you know what? If he doesn't want to, it's okay. He proved a lot in his career. He should retire. 147 news is Magic Man Salas, Ricardo Salas, got robbed at an IBF title fight, in my opinion, because Paddy Donovan pulled out. Paro and his team were granted to be the mandatory right away, but Salas is the next guy after Paddy. Yeah, I saw people complaining about that on Twitter. And that's unfortunate. He's got Samson boxing behind him, so Samson Lukowitz needs to go straighten that out. Because Ricardo Salas, he beat Romain Villa way easier than Boots did. He knocked him out like a couple rounds. And he has like another quality one. He's a good fighter, and that's not fair to him. When is WBA going to order Laura to fight Yohan Elise Hernandez? I don't know, man. And that's not a fight that like I necessarily need to see, honestly, like to lay up for Yohan Elise. I don't know. Hyro, you know how I feel about both those guys, so I don't need to get into that here. Shout out to my guy Kato123 for the $5 super chat. Thank you, champ. He says, have you seen Renee Santiago's recent Instagram post? He's unified and he still went to his back to work as a janitor. It's a crazy achievement for a guy who was part-time. Yeah, I seen that. Respect to Renee Santiago, an awesome fighter. I don't care what nobody says right now. For my money, in terms of resume, in terms of what he's done, That's the number one pound for pound Puerto Rican fighter in boxing right now. Not Oscar Collazo, Rene Santiago. Rene is the number one light flyweight in the world, and he has a job as a janitor. Hopefully, for these next couple of fights, I mean, I know he probably I'll be led to believe that he made decent money fighting Shokichi Iwata and fighting what's his name, Kaosuke Takami, because in those weight classes, the good money for those guys, no matter what country you come from, is to fight in Japan, because the Japanese TV networks will invest the money and the promoters will invest the money for those fighters. You understand? But yeah, hopefully, I mean, there's been many fighters throughout the course history who had regular jobs and were champions. Look at Glenn Johnson. Glenn Johnson had jobs in construction while he was champion. Look at Andrew Cancio from a couple years ago. He was champion or had a version of the trinket. And he had a job too. So I mean, for the most part, guys, only out of all the fighters that exist in the world, probably only less than 0.5% can just focus on training. Most fighters have to make ends meet and find other sources of income to fund their lifestyle. I know plenty of fighters like that personally. So yeah, respect to Rene Santiago. Big 2026 ahead for him. He's right now at light flyweight. He is the man to beat in the division. And there's a lot of guys coming for him. You got guys like Sergio Mendoza Cordova in the division. You got Eric Badillo. You got Daikira. You got Yugo Osaki, the real best light flyweight, if he gets the chance to prove it. There's a lot of talent there. So we'll see how it goes. Yeah, I don't know what it is, John. Like camp ended. Like we ended the camp on a great note. I got him a gift, and he was really pleasant. And then, I reached out to him now 3 times, with the most recent time being yesterday. He hasn't even seen my message. The other 2 messages I sent him one in October and then one in November. He saw those messages, never got back to me. So I don't know. I don't know what I did to the kid. I was and still am in this corner 500%, but he didn't want to talk to me or anybody right now. So I don't know what's going on. I wish I could tell you. If I knew, I'd tell you. It's literally like my life is going so good right now. The only thing that's literally bothering me is this whole Yuga thing, from the way he's being treated to how he just went ghost on everybody. So hopefully things get better. And if Yuga don't get in contact with me before I get to Japan, I will track him down. I know where he trains. I could find him. Joel says Nakatani can beat at his range, can beat Inoue. The Hernandez doesn't matter when it comes to Inoue because it's 2 different styles. That's how I look at it too. I look at it the same way, but he did take some damage in that fight, and that damage might play a role in that Inoue fight. But I'm picking Inoue. Junto, I was picking Inoue before I saw that fight, and that fight is making me pick Inoue even more, honestly. And it's also sad because it shows you how the lower weight classes barely get paid good purses. Oh, it's ridiculous. Like to make real money in these lower weight categories, you gotta really earn your keep. It's crazy. I've read contracts like when Yuga signed with All Star Boxing, I read his contract. I've seen his contract. I know what the guarantees were for 8 rounds, 10 rounds, towel defenses, like all those things. Like. So I know what ballpark they get paid in. It's not a lot. How long is Arizona Lara going to hold on to that belt? As long as PBC wants him to hold that belt, because they're going to continue to pick these guys that can't beat him, because middleweight is trash, and he's not going to fight Yon Elise Hernandez, who's the top Cuban guy, so or the top guy in the division. So I don't know, man. I really don't know. Your guess is as good as mine. I was hoping Johnny Beck would fight him, so because I thought Johnny Beck would have beat him, but Johnny Beck popped hot, unfortunately. Wow, you going against Rocha? I thought he was your boy. I think he pulls it off. I thought he won the first one, and he's literally the younger guy, contrary to belief. I love Rocha. Rocha to me is one of the realest fighters in boxing. I thought he won the first fight. I thought he boxed the most disciplined performance of his entire career in the first fight. But I just think Raul Cordial has fought at a higher level terms of pedigree and things like that. And I think there's a bit of room to get better in his performance. I think Rocha, that was his best performance they could possibly give. I feel like Gurriel has room to improve, and I think he's going to improve. Robert Garcia behind him, but we'll see. If Rocha wins, I'll be happy for him. I love Alexis Rocha. He's one of the true hardworking blue collar fighters in American boxing. So respect to him. Did some people of Tekken or what's SMTH get involved? I don't know what's going on. I mean, I know he's with All Star Boxing. So technically, if you're with All Star Boxing by way of default, you're with Tekken. But to be honest with you, I haven't seen Yuga since October 11th of last year. That was the last day of camp. August 20 something to, I think it was August 23rd to like October 11th. That was our camp. I haven't seen him since October 11th, and we haven't really spoken since October 11th. So I don't know I couldn't tell you anything about him. I don't know anything. He doesn't post on Instagram. He doesn't respond to nobody. There's no news on him. There's no fight date announced. I couldn't tell you without one thing. Who do I like in the Michael Zarafa Nikita Tszyu fight? Good fight. I think it's going to be a very, very fun fight. Zarafa obviously has the experience, and that could play a big factor in this fight. But I like Nikita Tszyu. I'll go Nikita Tszyu in the fight. Gurriel doesn't care about boxing. He cares about going to school and being a lawyer. Not everyone can study and be a champion like Sebastian Pandura or Vladimir Klitschko. It takes a special breed of fighter to study and go to school, get the degree, and be champion. And you're 100% right, Hyro. That being said, I'm still picking Raul Gurriel, but we'll see. I would like Rocha to win. I like Rocha more personally as a fighter, and I like the story of Rocha more. I just think Gurriel is a better fighter than him. If Turkey can get Yabuki on blackball, I'll be behind Turkey and his Surf fights in Saudi Arabia. That's not happening. Because I don't know, man. I hope so. I would like to see Yabuki get these big fights. I feel like Yabuki should be fighting Ricardo Sandoval, and he should be like this is what I'm saying. Like this is why I don't have time for like people who just dick ride Bam Rodriguez, because there's so many fighters from 112 he never even went to look to go fight, and that's one of them. And of course, it's not on Bam; it's on people behind him, Mr. Honda and stuff. But like, if I could get one fight at flyweight or super flyweight, I would do Bam versus Yabuki. That would be a crazy fight. That would be insane. What are my thoughts on Conor Walker? Do you think he's elite or not after upsetting Pat McCormack? I didn't even get a chance to watch that fight. I heard about it. Conor Walker's a good fight. I think that's a very good win to have. Pat McCormack was one of the most hyped up prospects in British boxing because of his amateur pedigree. I don't know if I want to say he's elite, but he's definitely at a higher level than many people, including myself, thought he was at. That's a very good win to have. So shout out to him. You got to admit, Oscar and Al Haymon were running boxing for 15 years when they were unstoppable force. This is correct, but then it's never going back to that. So I don't. Oscar is over here making up stories about how him and Al Haymon are holding hands, saying kumbaya, and watch. He's gonna go right back to the zone, and they're gonna do Virgil versus Boots. Fundora got into Harvard. That alone is harder than becoming a world champion. I don't know about that one, man. Let me see. How many? Let's Google it up. How many students are at Harvard? I don't know if I agree with that one, Chan. That's hard. I'm not going to say it's not hard. But right now, it says that there's roughly about 24,500 total students at Harvard University. So while it is hard, I don't agree with that at all. I think being a world champion is harder than getting into Harvard, because even if there's 4 world titles per weight class, that's still four times 17 or 18? That's still a lot less than 24,000. So I don't know. I disagree. Nakatani's style is too keen on wide hooks and wide trajectory shots. It's very interesting concerning why he only focuses on this punch variation. I always felt Inoue outclasses him. I didn't think Inoue would outclass him at first. I was favoring him, and I thought Inoue was the better fighter because I don't think Junta Nakatani really has the appropriate amount of real big fight experience, because people like, yeah, he's a 3 division champion, but he hasn't really like, and this is what I'm saying. I've been telling people for a while. Junta Nakatani is, I don't put him above Kenshiro Taraji. I don't think he has the resume or the quality opposition of a guy like Kenshiro Taraji. And I think I don't want to say lack of quality because he's fought some good fighters, but like there's more big names he needs to fight. He needs to get more experience for this kind of fight. I don't think he's ready for this kind of fight. And it's becoming more apparent the more we get close to the fight. And what I've always thought is that Inoue is not going to potentially lose until he goes to featherweight. And you guys already know who I'm going to tell you he's going to lose to at featherweight. So that's what it is. That's true, but check the students for engineering, which is major. Okay, let's see. How many students are at Harvard University engineering? Engineering. This motherfucker's an engineer. I can't believe that. Engineering program. Let's see. There are, they say, oh, wow. So the engineering program, and I'll go to screen share. So the engineering program, they say there's roughly 1,000 or 700. Wait, it has 1,300 graduates overall. Oh, wow. Yeah, that's not a lot. So in 2023, because these numbers are from 2023, there was a total of 2,000 students in the engineering program. So it's still more. There's still more engineering students than there are world champions. So technically, my point still stands. But that is still hard. It is hard, and think about it. He's doing both. So if he's doing both, I mean, some guys got it all. They tall, they can fight, they get into Harvard. Some people got it all. Sebastian Fundora is a true Renaissance man. If the Mike Tyson of Yokohama, which is Sora Tanaka, versus Jin Sasaki fight happens, it probably would last like 2 rounds. I remember them hinting at it, and I got Jin, the janitor in my school, has better defense than Sora. Yeah, as bad as Jin Sasaki's defense can be, it is not as bad as Sora Tanaka. Absolutely not. These days, you can get gifted a belt, or better yet, you can get emailed a belt. Boxing is so watered down these days. I miss the 90s and early 2000s. You can get emailed a belt, and being a world champion has become a bit diluted, but nah, man. In a lot of these weight classes, there's 1,000, 2,000, 2,500 fighters. I'm sorry, like, to get a world title out of 2,500 people is still hard. A lot of world champions in boxing are high school dropouts. Do you value a diploma over a world title? It's an interesting topic. That's a great question. And I know quite a few fighters that dropped out of high school to pursue boxing. The funny thing is, I almost dropped out of high school, but then my dad put me in check. I remember I told my dad one time when I was like in the 10th grade, I was like, Pops, I said, Pops, in South Florida, there was this alternative school called Hollandale Adult, and it basically, if you dropped out of high school, if you wanted to get your GED, you would go to Hollandale Adult. So I remember one time when I was in 10th grade, I told Pops, I said, Pops, fuck this school shit. I'm going to Hollandale Adult to get my GED. And you can imagine what my dad said, because y'all know Pops, he don't play. But anyway, back to the question: do I value a diploma over a world title? To be honest, like, it's cool to have a high school diploma, but like in the real world, it don't really mean shit. Like, so truth be told, if you're asking me, the world title will get you more than a high school diploma. If you get a high school diploma, you know, cool. You did the bare minimum of education in America. But like, to win a world title, I'm not like, you're now getting a chance to make 6 figures, to maybe even 7 figures, and really change the trajectory of your life and your family's life. So I'm gonna go with I'm gonna go with the world title over the diploma, but I'm not saying the diploma isn't valuable. I think the least you can do is finish high school. If I can finish high school, anyone can finish high school. Because look, I've grown up and I've matured a lot. But man, high school BT was a piece of work. I'll tell you that right now. Pops was going to beat the shit out of. Yes, he was. He was not trying to hear that because my dad raised me by himself from the age of like, was it 6 or 7, by himself, no help, just my pops doing everything he can to make sure I was good. So he wasn't about to hear me say I'm going to be a high school dropout. So it was good. It was good that we had my dad to straighten me out. My man Chris said, "Give me the belt over a damn piece of paper." Yeah, it doesn't do it. Like high school diploma doesn't do anything. I got my electrical engineering degree. Let me tell you, life is easy, especially with stocks and fat yearly bonuses. Making a living from boxing is really hard. It is. And it doesn't matter if you're a manager, a fighter, if you're doing what I'm doing here on YouTube, it is very, very difficult. And it's not something that, like, I was just having this conversation with my boy Marcos Paz. Shout out to Marcos Paz, professional fighter / matchmaker. You know, he does a lot of things in the fight game. I was just having a conversation with him when I was in New York. Like when you get into boxing, you can't get it. You cannot get in it for the money at all. You have to really love the sport, and you know the money will eventually come later when you're good at it and you're good to the sport. The sport will eventually be back to you. If you get into it just for the money, when adversity strikes, you're gonna tuck your tail and get the fuck out of boxing. Like it's because it's gonna test your love, and if you don't have that love for the sport, to go to the gym, to dedicate yourself, to keep going when things get hard, you're not gonna last. It just is what it is. I'm currently doing my job as a CNA, and it is not bad at all. Yeah, listen, man, go. I would encourage everyone to get your schooling. Definitely do what you can to make your life as easy as possible because it's hard, especially in America. But man, you know, I'll tell you this though: if you can make because boxing is so hard to achieve any success in, whether it be in the media or as a fighter or from a manager position, when you do actually achieve anything, it feels like exceptional because you're like in the 0.0001%. Like my man said, BT's gonna pop up to Japan and see Yugo Osaki in school. Not school, well, because he's not in school no more. But I know where to go. If I want some answers, I know where to go over there in Osaka. There isn't a lot of money in boxing. You better stick to your day job. Listen, in order to make it in boxing, you gotta be delusional. You can't even think like that. That can't be nowhere in your frame of mind, unless you're Sebastian Pandora or Klitschko, and you can get and you have your degree in psychology, or you get accepted into Harvard engineering school. You know, my man says I graduated and currently working Home Depot. I still don't know what I'm doing with my life. Well, look, man, listen. You know, it's freaking me out that like life is going by so fast. I'll be 31 next month. Like, you know, I have my place. Like I know where I'm going in life, but like it's still like life is hard. Life is very difficult. No matter what route you choose, you just gotta choose the route that you feel is best for you, and that one that you're content with, no matter what happens. So for me, that's being right here, covering the fight game, covering the fights, going, making this content, interviewing these fighters, you know, helping these fighters that I know personally, like whether it be the Angelo Leos or Hugo Saki's or Eric Lanzas Juniors or the Ian Greens and them kind of guys, you know, I take great joy in that. And I'm starting to really make progress. So I'm happy about that after 10 years. BT is going to nah, I ain't going to press him, but it'll be all love when I see him. I mean, that's my guy. I got genuine love for that kid. I love Yugo Osaki. But yeah, man, shit. If worst comes to worst, man, shit, we gonna put these raps on. Might need to get some rounds in. But yeah, like I would say, I mean, because now we're not only talking about boxing, we're talking about life now. If you don't have your life figured out, guys, take a deep breath and keep the faith, and just, God will see you through. Is Rolly gonna fight Shaka and Giashov? Hell no. That fight is never gonna happen. Rolly doesn't even know. He keeps saying he doesn't know who Shaka and Giashov even is. He keeps saying like, I never heard of him, so I don't know him anything. So I don't think he's gonna fight him. He'll vacate before he fights Giashov. There's no money in that fight. When Keyshawn Davis beats Ortiz, easy. You're gonna move the goalpost. Jimenez is going to have piss poor. The minute Ortiz is expected to do good, he's going to do bad. Hyro, I'm picking. And if you don't believe me, please go and watch the video, so you know I'm not lying. I'm picking Keyshawn Davis to stop him. I know you just became a Keyshawn Davis dick rider 5 minutes ago. You guys want to hear something crazy? Hyro never hyped up Keyshawn Davis ever, and then like a week ago maybe, or 10 days ago, I don't know where he says, man, Keyshawn Davis is one of my favorite fighters, and I'm like, this dude became a fan of Keyshawn Davis because Keyshawn Davis doesn't fight. Like, Keyshawn Davis's inactivity is what made Hyro a fan of Keyshawn Davis. Rolly and the PBC are trying to hold that WBA belt hostage. And you know what's crazy is the WBA might let Rolly hold that belt hostage because Rolly pays his 3%. Rolly's going to the conventions. Rolly has a good relationship with Mendoza, with Gilberto Mendoza. So shit, he might do it. But honestly, they need to let my boy Giashov, even though I'm not no big Giashov fan. Like I don't even really think he's that great, to be honest with you. But he is mandatory, and I do believe in guys honoring the mandatories. I mean, shit, they make my boy Angelo Leo have to fight his mandatory. Angelo can't get the unification fights or get a voluntary. So if he got to fight his mandatory all the time, then everyone got to fight the mandatory. And I'm going to start being a lot harsher on everyone because of this fact, because it's pissing me off. Oh no, don't say that, champ. Oh my God. Because if Laura actually were to beat Earl Spence, oh my God, that'll make Laura's resume look really good. Even though Earl's washed, like 10, 50 years from now, no one will care that it was Earl Spence on the back nine of his career, half semi-retired. They're just gonna say, wow, Laura beat Spence. He said, when I saw Rolly, I asked if he would fight Matias, and he was like, I don't know who that is, and started looking around as if he was afraid that someone was after him. I mean, he ain't the only guy. Hitchens is the same way. But Rolly just wants to make money, man. That's all that is. He's a smart guy. I think he's fighting Giashov. Rolly said he has a fight announcement. Look at the WBA rankings. I don't think he's fighting Giashov because I know from being at 2 of the last 3 WBA conventions myself that Rolly has an insanely great relationship with those guys. And the WBA, and I'm just calling a spade. So if anybody from the WBA sees this, Julio, Gilberto, it just is what it is. I'm calling it out for what it is. But they probably won't see this because I'm not delusional. There's only 26 of you guys here. There's no one like they're probably the worst at moving the goalposts. They probably move the goalposts more than the WBC do. Quiet is kept. So I believe they'll do that here. Rolly, let me see who's in these rankings. Who's in these 147 WBA rankings? Maybe Rolly will fight let me see, because he should fight. I think he should fight Giashov. Oh yeah, I don't know. Y'all might be right because you got Giashov, you got Stanion, Scudi. Yeah, unless he fights I don't know. Yeah, he's gonna fight Giashov. I think you're right. He might fight Giashov because all the guys, unless he fights like one of these random guys in the lower top 15, he might actually fight Giashov by looking at the rankings. Eddie Hearn is a powerful promoter. If it were anywhere else, Giashov would be held hostage. Yeah, good for him. Matchroom Boxing, I'm sure they're looking for a return on their investment. If Rolly beats Giashov, they'll cash out on Giashov. If Giashov actually wins, well then damn, now they have an actual legitimate world champion that they can bring back to the Uzbek market and continue to do big fights there. Giashov is big in Uzbekistan. I know Uzbekistan, it don't pay what like Vegas or other big markets to pay, but They do support Giyashov. If you look at any of his posts on Instagram, whenever he's getting ready to fight, you always see a bunch of Uzbek flags. They love their boxing in Uzbekistan. Ryan Garcia and Mario Barrios have a combined win, a combined of 1 win since 2023, and this is a certified penalty. This is why Turkey is so big in boxing. I hate to agree with you, but I do agree with you. And Turkey won't be big in boxing for much longer. He's gonna start pulling his investment from boxing slowly but surely. Do you think if Jin is trained in America, he would have been a champion by now? Depends on who it was with. I think probably. I mean, he would have got a shot. It's hypothetical, right? It's like I can say yes, I can say no. It don't matter. What does matter is next month when he fights, and hopefully he gets a win, and hopefully he can come into the States and train. I hope he can get better sparring. BT, who's your favorite Puerto Rican boxer of all time? Mine is Juanma Lopez and Camacho. Oh, this is easy. My favorite Puerto Rican boxer of all time is Felix Trinidad. My easily. It's not even close. I mean, my introduction to boxing was a Felix Trinidad fight, which was him and Bernard Hopkins. The Uzbeks, like MJ, Majmal, Giyashov, they have the support of their nation. Yeah, boxing in Uzbekistan and Kazakhstan is the #1 sport. So fighters in them countries, they always get top support from the people. BT, have you heard of? Now look, all these Uzbek guys got crazy names. So unless I've seen them myself, I don't remember. It's hard for me to memorize the names. Correct me if I'm wrong, Jan. Is that the one that signed with Kameda? I know Kameda signed someone from the Uzbek amateur system that's supposed to be like very, very good. So to answer your question, no, I don't. But I just know that the Kameda signed a big time Uzbek. I'm not sure if that's the guy though. Oh no, I'm telling you, Giyashov is the biggest. Giyashov might be the most popular fighter in Uzbekistan. I'm telling you, if he fights Rolly and he beats Rolly, he is going to be a mega star over there at least. BT, would you agree that No, because even though he is of Puerto Rican descent and he is technically the most skillful Puerto Rican fighter in boxing because his daddy was Puerto Rican, he's not a guy that's openly repping his Puerto Rican heritage to the fullest like that. So I wouldn't consider him a Puerto Rican fighter, even though he is. No, but I hear you. I used to have a joke. I used to say all the time that the biggest Puerto Rico versus Mexico fight in boxing was Shakur Stevenson versus Chris Colbert, because Chris Colbert, I think his dad is Mexican. So Chris Colbert's actually part Mexican. So Chris Colbert versus Shakur Stevenson was supposed to be the Mexico versus Puerto Rico fight that boxing was supposed to get, but we never got it. He's been asked about it before, and he hasn't shot it down. He said that he respects his Puerto Rican heritage and things like that. But I mean, man, it's a good. I'm glad. I feel like more American fighters should represent the stars and stripes. In my humble opinion, I'm biased, but I would say the best country in the world. Like, we need more of these. I'm tired of these American fighters, especially the ones from California who went to Mexico like 2 times in their life, talking about they don't ever embrace your heritage. But fuck, man, would it hurt anybody every now and then to actually just rep the United States of America when it's not the Olympics? Like, that's why Floyd Mayweather was better than all these guys, because he was a true American fighter. Actually, he actually repped that flag right there on the left-hand corner. BT, I think Golden Boy is going to get the DAZN deal, because you say Golden Boy has nowhere to go, but it doesn't look like DAZN wants Golden Boy. DAZN has MVP. Golden Boy has less shows. Well, then we shall see. We shall see. I know, Hyro, I think you were telling me the other day you think they're going to Paramount Plus or Prime. I forgot what you said. No, I respect that. That's why I say he ain't really part of the Puerto Rican boxing shit. Yeah, I respect it too, and I wish more American fighters who actually grew up in the United States would actually rep the American flag and and all that stuff. But they're encouraged not to, because promoters get in their ears and tell them, hey, that don't sell, this, that, and the third. But then how do you know it doesn't sell when nobody actually does it? Like, could you imagine? Let's just say, right? Let's just throw this out there, right? Let's see who's a big young American fighter. Let's say, like, I don't know. We'll just say Keyshawn Davis, right? We'll throw him out there. Let's say Keyshawn Davis started a tradition, and let's just say he fought on the 4th of July every year. They have Cinco de Mayo, they have Mexican Independence Day in September. What if somebody from America said, you know what? I'm going to rep the Stars and Stripes, and I'm going to fight on the 4th of July every year. I bet you if the right fighter did it who was good enough, I bet you they'd be really popular. But no one ever tried it. No one's ever tried it. I'm surprised nobody in boxing ever tried it. Or at least, if not the 4th of July, at least 4th of July weekend. Because think about it. People get people get vacation time. They get paid time off in America for 4th of July. So it's like all you need is a top upper echelon fighter with a personality and an exciting style to fight on the 4th of July weekend or the 4th of July. Guarantee you they will do well, because nobody's doing that. But boxing doesn't do those kind of things. Boxing is very lazy when it comes to marketing. I had this conversation with Broadway Joel. Shout out to Broadway Joel when I was in New York. There's so many things boxing can do to market certain fighters. They don't do that. They just lazy, and they're just lazy, and they just exhaust the Mexican fan base and rely on the Mexican fan base to carry the sport. And you can't do that, because they're going to pick and choose which fights they want to support, and they can't support every fight. So you should actually start working on building up other markets in the damn sport. But what do I know? I could have sworn Andre Ward tried to market himself as an American fighter. He did, but Andre Ward didn't fight enough. Like, he had a lot of inactivity in his career. And, some people didn't like him because they felt like, I don't want to talk about Andre Ward, because I wasn't the biggest fan of Andre Ward like that when he was fighting. But he just had a lot of inactivity and promotional problems. So that really stymied his growth. And then that's what it was with him. Jamel Charlo always claimed USA. He did. That's why I like Jamel Charlo. Xander Zayas. I like Xander. But now he grew up in America. He grew up in South Florida, but he was born in Puerto Rico, so he reps that more. But guys, I think on that note, we reached the 3-hour mark. So look, I'm gonna go ahead and put the finishing touches on this live. Because what is it? It's 2 in the morning. That's crazy. It don't even feel like 2 in the morning. I'm wide awake. It's 2 in the morning right now. So listen, guys, thank you for watching the live. Let me see. We got Rocha versus Guriel 2 this weekend. So what do you guys think? Before I end the live, I'll take a poll. Do you guys want to see a live fight reaction for Alexis Rocha versus Rahul Guriel 2? It's not a big fight, but it's not a lot of fights going on this weekend. So just before I get out the live, yes or no? The only patriotism we ever saw in boxing were those Rocky movies. None of these American fighters rep the American flag. They don't. Even like Floyd, I've even seen it with Floyd Schofield. Like, bro, Floyd Schofield is from freaking Austin, Texas. His name is literally Kid Austin, as in Austin, Texas. And this dude came out one time with a Dominican flag. I'm like, bro, any fight, any flag but the American flag is crazy to me. But I digress. My man TSM Harden says yes, he wants to see a live for the Rocha Guriel fight. Yeah, fuck it. We'll go live for the fight. Because this year there's not going to be too many fights where I'm actually going to be home for them. I'm going to be covering a lot of these fights live. So if I'm live at these fights, that means I won't be live for them as they're happening. So I guess we should take advantage of it. So that'll be what, Saturday? What do they fight on the 17th? Saturday? They fight on Saturday, which is the 17th. So we'll go live for that fight, and then we'll probably do at least one more live before that fight. So on that note, guys, look, that's what it is. Keep supporting the channel. 90,000 subscribers coming soon. 100,000 not too far away. And yeah, we'll be at the Xander Zayas fight. on the 31st, which means that I'll be leaving to go to Puerto Rico on around 27 to 26. So I got roughly 12 days just here. So there will be, at least I would say, before I get on the road, 2 or 3 lives at least minimum. Anyway, guys, thank you for the support. Thank you for watching. And like I say in every single one of these videos, you could love me or you could hate me, but I'm just a kid from Daniel. So until next time, take care, guys.